level and you have a bubble level, you're orienting something perpendicular to the force of down,
There's no
plumb
force.
line, whatever you want to call it, force of gravity, vector force of gravity, call it whatever you want. We all know it's there. It's a law.
There's no gravity.
Well,
Whatever you want to call it, why things go down.
that's a trigger.
Density. You can call
There
it
is a
density
law of that.
because it has some truth to it. But things go down, and it's called a plumb line. And if you orient something to the plumb line,
That's not a level, though,
why do
is
you
it?
talk over me? Why do you got to talk over me? Why?
Because
I
you're
don't understand.
talking about a plumb line, which is like opposite,
But
really, isn't it?
let him finish, though. Let him finish, isn't it?
You gotta let
Danik,
me
is everything cool, bro?
Why do you gotta? I come on. I haven't said a word in 3 hours. Listen to you guys go on and on and on, and then I thought I might just jump in and just be real calm and say, "Look, this is where level comes from. Comes
Yeah, but
from
you're cool usually. I mean, what's
yeah.
wrong
Why do
tonight?
you gotta interrupt? Why?
Well,
So,
your definition of
again,
levels
one more time, you
changed
keep on doing it.
today.
What's the
You
most level thing on our planet?
Go ahead. I'll go away. You guys go ahead.
You going?
Zanuck? What's the most level thing on our planet, Zanuck?
So level will be perpendicular to this plumb line. That's the orientation of something. It's simple. If you want something that's flat, that will have no variation in its surface, no angle changes. Flat. That's the definition. Okay, so we got that.
Yeah.
Straight.
Like a cup of liquid, like liquid, right?
No, not like liquid, because liquid can take the shape of containers, and be and
Only
also
on the
move
bottom.
and change shape based on forces acting on it. For example, if I put water in a spinning tire, it'll take the shape of the tire and be curved.
Right, when you fill it up and enclose it, but on a
No, not even enclose it. Just spin the tire, and it'll take a curved surface because it has a force acting on it. A centrifugal force, a pseudo force, by the way, acting
So
on
what's
that
the
water.
water do when it's level, like in my 2-liter right now, just sitting there? It's just sitting there. Like, what is it then? It's the most level thing I've ever seen. Liquid.
Operative
Gravity,
word.
pressure.
Operative words and terms. Most level thing I have ever seen. So you have several things in that statement.
Yeah, the surface
have
of water
seen
is level at
Human. Then,
rest.
why do you got to talk over me?
I
So you have
was finished my sentence.
You have seen, which means human perception, what you're visually looking at, and ever, meaning your experiences. So maybe could be a chance beyond human perception, and you haven't seen it. Would that be logical to assert?
It'd be logical to assert I've never seen the water go on the outside of the tire and
Can
stick to
I
it.
I ask your definition of level, though, Zanuck, just to make sure, because we're talking
Yeah,
about
let's
something
talk about
that's
that
just
one more time.
changed recently.
No, it hasn't.
You've
So
got
let
a
me-
curve in the top picture. If you look in the chat now, you've got a top
You weren't
picture
looking-
where the curve
you weren't-
goes down
you weren't
and then it
listening
goes
before.
back up again, and then it goes down and then it goes
Okay,
up.
let's
But in the
dissect that.
second picture you've
Sure.
got, level
Gotcha.
only curves in the down direction.
So there we go again. You weren't quite paying attention, but I could have been maybe too vague. Let me be even more
There's
clear.
two pictures in the chat. Can everybody see them?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let-
Is
let-
there a
again,
difference
I
between the
heard what I
level
said.
in the top picture
Hear what I
and the
said. I
level
was
in the
responding
bottom
back to you.
picture?
Keep on talking.
I mean, they're both wrong.
I
But is there a
responded back to
difference?
you and you keep on talking. So I said there. You didn't listen to what I said the first time. I said that we have an orientation. Level is an orientation. I mean, if I'm pointing out level, or I'm oriented myself level, or I orient a picture level, that picture of that wavy line could be oriented level.
Are the levels
I can be
different
orient- I
in
could
them
be
two
sitting- I could
pictures?
be sitting on a plate that is level. If that plate, that flat surface, short flat surface, is perpendicular to the plumb line, it would be level. Now, it doesn't mean that if I move along the surface of a curved surface, that level
Would that
not
level
change.
line be wibbly wobbly with the bends going
Now we're talking about
upwards
two different
and
things.
downwards,
So,
or would that level
I think what
only
you're saying-
bend
So
in
if
the
I'm
downwards
sitting on the
position?
down, if I'm sitting on the downward slope of one of those wavy lines, would I be level? No.
No, I'm not asking about you. I'm just asking about the word level. You seem
Well,
to
you're
have
not- you're
two
not listening.
different
So
ideas
the
of what it
level
is.
can be Listen.
I'm just asking you which one.
Listen.
Which
You
one
might
of the
learn
pictures?
something.
There's two pictures. The
Listen.
top one's Anik or the bottom one.
I'm
Which is the level that you want to
Stop
go with?
talking. You have incessant ability to constantly interrupt.
Well, it's not hard, is it? I'm going with the top one, or I'm definitely going with the bottom one now today. Which one are we
Well,
going
the bottom one
with?
isn't level, and the bottom one is flat. Correct. The top one could be oriented
No,
level.
can you see there's two different pictures
again, you can't
with
stop you.
different
You can't help
levels?
You cannot help yourself.
No, I can't because you're not
You
answering
can't.
the question.
You just can't. You're like Tourette's. Stop.
Simple.
Stop.
What? You
And I'll
keep
tell you.
interrupting me by saying stop. Why are you doing that?
Because you asked me to
Stop.
explain.
See, you're
the
doing
top.
it again, Scott. Why are you doing that? Huh? Are you finished?
I'm not
Are you?
finished. You're still
See,
talking.
why
Go
you
ahead.
do that? Look, you can't help yourself.
This is getting dumb.
Ridiculous.
Right? Can you
Can
see
we
the
check?
two pictures, Zanuck, that I've put in that you've given me for level? Can you see them? At least, will you answer that question?
Oh, you're asking me a question. Sure.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
they are. They are. I see the picture. Yes.
The
Would you
I'm-
mind
pictures,
posting them
there's
again,
two.
Level?
I
Would you
did.
mind posting those
Wait.
again? I'm a little bit lost at the chat.
Right,
Would you
okay.
mind, Level, if you wouldn't mind
yeah.
posting those pictures again that you're referring to?
So level on the top picture would be the orientation of that squiggly line. It
Right, this is the
together
first one
would
that Zanuck
guide
gave me
you
that he
bisect-
taught
yes.
to the
Okay,
kids at the
noted.
museum. Okay,
Let him reply.
got that one. This is the one that he gave me
I
today.
got them both. I'm speaking to that right now.
Okay, gotcha.
See, can you see how one level goes in the downward position only, bend, and the other
Yes.
one goes downwards and upwards? Indicating that Zanuck doesn't seem to know what level is.
I know exactly what level is.
Which one then, Zanuck, please?
We have an orientation of level. We have a path of level. That would be a level path. As long as it's parallel to the surface, it would be level. If also there was a vector force or a plumb line that would be oriented to the center of that sphere below it. No different if I did the opposite with a tire that was spinning. Completely inverted equations.
Also maths, but if you spit a... Oh, fuck me. Can't go there.
Put the water on the outside of
Did
the tire
someone
and see what
say
happens.
mass?
You can do that all you want if you understand the math.
Which
Not that
which
difficult.
one, Zanuck? Which is the level we're going with today? Then we can all understand what you're talking
Level.
about.
Perpendicular, your orientation to be level would be to be perpendicular to the plumb line.
Non-Euclidean.
That's it. Perpendicular to the plumb line is orientation of level.
Will your orientation change when you...
So I think what you're saying is pretty obvious. Like, yeah, the definition of being level depends on your own physical position, right? Is that what you're saying?
Right, because you can be not level on that squiggly line. If you stopped in that squiggly line, that was
Yeah,
going down.
I think anyone
high
here
level?
understands that if you're if you're one particle on a wave, your definition of level is going to be different than if you're a particle, let's say 20 centimeters away from that. Those two definitions of level are gonna differ. But what we're
Right.
dealing with is
They'll
not
both be
hypothetical
horizontal.
scenarios. We're dealing with human rational definitions of the term level. So we don't have to engage in these sophistry debates about how the term level can be interpreted in different hypothetical
Right.
scenarios.
And that's why we don't. That's why we only define level in a scientific, strict natural science sense.
And that's what I gave you. I gave you the scientific definition. Now look, going back to that picture.
No, you're giving a
If Google is
mathematical
speaking-
definition.
Sky-
Mathematics is
Sky-
different from natural science.
Skygazer. Now you have to look at that. If I gave you that entire picture, if that was a picture, and I put that picture on the wall, and I didn't have it as it's oriented on this
Oh,
chat.
Jesus.
you would
Yeah,
say-
again,
Pictures
the
on the
entire
wall. That's
preface
what
of your
surveyors
argument
use
is
level
an
for. Yeah.
Let me speak and answer the question, or we don't have to talk about it. But I'm just saying, I'm asking a question. If I had that picture with that squiggly line and it was on the wall like it is there, I would say that's level. And if I tilted it 10 degrees one way or the other, you say that's not level. Please straighten it out.
Right. If you
Okay.
did. And
So
now,
even though if I now hold on, and in micro view, if I was on that squiggly line and you said on the downslope, and I said, is that point level? I'd say no, that point is not level.
right.
Okay,
that's,
is that-
that's
is that-
really interesting, right? And
I have one
think,
question
I
to
think
San
everyone here
Francisco.
is engaging your hypothetical discussions like really honestly and trying to give you honest personal interpretations. But now let's say this: if you're a human being living on Earth and you're observing something, what's the definition of level? Because that's something that we can all relate to without having to engage in mathematical hypotheticals. This is something we can actually observe today. So that seems to be more interesting.
Yeah. So words have, multiple meanings, obviously. So if you looked at and saw level, or this is flat, I say this is level, or my foundation on my house, it's level. In probably most cases, it would be level. In all areas, it'd be perpendicular to plumb line, which means it might microscopically at the end be slightly taller versus the surface of the Earth, but we don't have to even go there. We can say in general it's relatively level. But if we want to be very accurate, if I fly
relatively to the human perception, right?
Be fine. If we want to fly a plane and be actually accurate, I mean, this is very important, especially for long distances that we're accurate. We are flying level, which means perpendicular plumb line, and it can't change.
You keep saying plumb line, Danik. I'm going to have to stop you there and point out to everybody that when he says perpendicular to plumb line, he means a radius length. So in Danik's world, there are no parallel vertical lines.
I'm not
one.
You're being very presumptuous there.
Yeah. So you can have the example of having a plumb line and then having a straight line and going for 100 miles and having another plumb line, but those two plumb lines will not be parallel.
They won't be.
And a consequence of having no vertical parallels means you have intersecting horizontal lines.
Yeah.
Geometrically, because Danik is talking about a model. I can do that. Geometry, anyone can do that. But it doesn't relate to real
Let's stick to
life.
reality.
Yeah, I think that's the fault that a lot of people make. They mistake mathematics as a true representation of reality, where in reality it was made to serve the physical reality, not the other way around.
I have one question to San Francisco. Do you think the ISS space shuttle is flying in a level, or is it dropping in a curve? It's going 15. The ISS
Probably
in
neither.
the sky. Is it flying in a level flight path in 15 times?
Its flight path.
Is it level or is it curve?
It has a tangential velocity. That tangent is level.
Oh my god.
Because the altitude is
You can't. You're not going to get anywhere with this. You just go round in circles.
It's like listening to someone recite
ISS isn't moving. He's saying the ISS is sitting still and the Earth's moving. What the fuck?
I never said that.
That's basically what you're saying, motherfucker, when you say a tangent.
Okay.
No, he's saying the ISS is flying on a level flight path.
Is the ISS dropping?
Right, like sitting there in free fall.
Is the ISS dropping all the time?
It's flying 17,000 miles an hour of tangential velocity. Means it's flying at its vector of speed.
Is it dropping?
It's not a tangent, Sonic.
It is a tangent.
Holy shit,
That's how it works. That's how you go. That you don't understand spherical geometry,
No,
or
you just don't understand what a tangent is, do you?
You know what a tangent is?
Yeah, it's a straight line, isn't it?
It is. That's the vector.
Yeah,
though.
so
That's
straight lines can't fucking curve around circles, can they?
That's not the path. The path is constantly changing the direction. That's why it's in a circle. That's why you have centrifugal
force. So is it dropping?
It's not on a tangent then, is it?
No, it's basically in Lagrange point. And the Earth is spinning, supposedly.
No, it's not in Lagrange.
Yeah, dumbass. If you think it's on a continuous fall, a free fall, and it's never stopping, and that's its level and everything, it doesn't have to do anything but sit right there and just fall. What the fuck else is that?
Yeah, I mean, it's either falling or it's not, right? So which one is it?
Velocity and its change of direction. It's constantly changing direction.
Yeah,
Where's it
we get it.
Is it changing the level?
It has a vector force plumb line, which is the centripetal force acting straight down to the Earth.
Get it, man.
What the hell?
The geometry is
Solid.
solid.
Centripetal forces.
Roger. What's your vector, Victor? What's your vector, Victor?
You got clearance,
And you have in the velocity vector. The velocity vector is tangential to that vector force.
Dude,
I
what
would-
was the
yeah,
grade
that's
in
direct
I
geometry?
want
right
to have
angle.
the same
That's
medicine you are
why
taking,
You
Zach.
can't stop talking, can you? That's why it spins around the Earth and doesn't change any kind of speed or altitude above the Earth.
This guy got an A in geometry. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I want the same medicine that
He got
Chad
an
is
A in
having.
Dr. Seuss bullshit.
Well, just because you haven't
Is
studied
he
it,
taking
it's like
mushrooms?
Yeah.
Perhaps.
I think he's took a couple mushrooms in his life.
Chill, guys. Don't start insulting him.
It's
No
not
need
an
Let
to
him
go
do
insult.
it.
Let
Yeah,
me
yeah.
do
Yeah.
that.
I'm
That's
alcoholic. I know what
There's-
is
There's
drinking.
there's no
always
there's no
talk
need to
if you
get
don't
personal.
understand. You can ask the questions, but don't mock me if you don't
Yeah.
understand.
Okay,
Yeah.
what is
But
the
Why
How
do
you
guys
can
get
say
petty?
how you can say
Why do
that
you guys
the
get petty?
ISS
don't
is
understand. That's bad, that Zanik. That's
Why do
really
you guys
bad.
get petty though?
You don't mock people just because you don't
Yeah.
understand.
Well,
Why do you
who
guys
doesn't
become children?
understand,
That's not
Zanik?
what they're saying.
I'm
But
wondering why
guys
do you
become
don't
children,
understand
though, when people
simple
don't agree
things.
with you?
Simple what?
I'm wondering why you don't understand, is the ISS dropping or not?
It's not changing altitude, so it's not dropping.
Is it okay? Because
How
the
did it get to where
NASA
it's at if it's never
NASA is
changed
say
altitude?
Can
NASA
we just let have
says
one
it's
person talk at
dropping.
a time?
NASA is saying it's dropping, so you are against NASA.
They've used a word that you may be misconstrued.
Oh, they used the word. Okay, you know better.
Yeah, you know, you thought
Well,
that
does it
torrents
drop? I mean,
were
if something is
like
dropping
born
or
by the
falling,
horns,
wouldn't
but
it be going
actually they
closer
were
and
not.
closer to the surface relative to that surface?
It does.
It doesn't. It stays at the same altitude, so it's not dropping. When it drops,
It's-
it comes back to Earth. It burns up and
No, it
disintegrates.
drops
Or you
according
fall
to
into the
curve
ocean.
of the flight path, which
The
is
flight
not
path
a
is
level.
a tangent,
It doesn't.
tangential
It's not
velocity
there, is
and a
it?
circular path.
How
It has
bad
a
is
vector
this?
You're
force
talking
in the center,
fantasy,
it has a
orbit
tangential
mechanics,
path outward,
and
and it
mathematics
has a
again.
circular path because it
The
is
things
traveling.
that are in
Zanuck,
swimming pools.
How about this question, Zanuck? Is the Earth falling through space?
Is the Earth falling through space?
Yeah.
No,
It's floating.
It's not
So the
falling
Earth
through the
is
vacuum?
stationary.
no. It's moving through
What's the-
space.
It's moving, but it's
So
not
it's
moving. That's a double
moving.
standard.
It's moving.
But it's
Well,
not
Zanuck.
moving.
Can I ask
Well,
a
which
question?
direction's it
When
moving in
when everyone's
space?
talking, stop talking crap. Cool. So, Zanuck, when do I start seeing the Earth spin? Because the reason why I don't feel it down here or throw an object into the sky is because gravity's pulling everything around at the same rate. But if gravity loses force as you go higher, i.e., pressure gradient, then surely as I go higher, the Earth should start spinning underneath me because gravity's weaker, right? So when does the Earth start spinning?
The gravity's not much weaker as you go higher.
So when does it start spinning?
When does it start? It is spinning. It already is spinning.
Well, yeah, it would have to start at a very small rate and then get more and more and more as you left Earth's gravitational field.
Yeah,
Right.
like throwing an axe.
What do you mean? I don't understand.
Well,
If you're
it's
a
got to
million
start.
miles away,
Oh, hold on, because he doesn't get it. The Earth's got to start spinning at some point. At some distance away, you're going to observe the Earth spinning. So if I'm standing on the Earth and don't observe the Earth spinning because gravity's pulling me around when I release things into the air, or an aeroplane, for example, no Coriolis effect, when would I observe the Earth spinning at what
Why do you
altitude?
say four things and you conflate the three? I don't understand.
Why? Right. When do I see Earth spinning? Down here on Earth, we don't experience Earth spin. We release things into the atmosphere in gravity is said to pull.
Can we go one at a time? Can we please
Yes,
go one
I'm going as slow as I fucking can.
No, just
Don't
go
annoy
one
me.
at a
I'm
time.
really not in the mood, Zanuck.
Just go one
Right.
at a time.
So when do I feel the, or when would I observe the Earth spinning? At what fucking altitude and at what rate?
If you're on the ground, you feel the earth spin by measuring with a very sensitive instrument the weight, your weight at different positions.
When would I
on the
see
ground.
it?
You can't
Earth
see
spin
it.
underneath my
You can't-
feet.
You'll never see it
It's
spin.
going to have to wait. It's going to have to happen at some point because the Earth is spinning. So I have to be a distance away in space to observe the Earth spinning underneath my feet. So when, at what altitude would I notice the Earth spinning underneath my feet?
You'll see a lag as you go higher.
A lag.
A lag
What,
behind, yes.
what altitude? When? Maths.
At every
Where's the
at every
observation of it?
Dude,
At every
I was
altitude.
joking about the World of Warcraft analogy, but it's getting more and more accurate as this goes on.
As you leave the surface of the earth, you have a tangential velocity. As you go higher on a sphere, that tangential velocity relative to the distance between you and the surface will get greater, right?
Okay,
you'll
go
have to lag
higher on
behind.
what sphere?
If you have a tangential velocity, that momentum will be retained, will have to be conserved. So as you go higher, you will lag behind. Yes.
Yeah, that's a lovely story. When? Where's this observation of this actually happening?
Jump in the air.
So the Earth is spinning underneath my feet.
It's always
So
spinning.
I'm in two separate reference frames.
I wouldn't say
So there is a
spinning.
Coriolis
Up in the
effect.
air.
It's moving from under your feet because you're now traveling at a slower distance
So
per unit time than the Earth would be. Makes sense, right? Because you're on a sphere.
All right,
Yeah,
so there are
mathematically
two
it
separate
does, but-
reference frames then.
but let's
No,
let's
things don't leave
combine it
reference
with
frames.
reality.
So
Let's
we can
talk
never
about
see this
helicopters.
merry-go-round spin that's
You
supposed
would,
to be
if you
spinning. That's
jumped
kind
in
of
the
odd.
air, you
I want to
still
know when I
have-
see the F spin.
you'd still be in a non-inertial reference frame.
I want to know when I see the F spin. Where's the
But I
evidence
you
of
won't
the F
change-
spinning?
Jump reference frames. You can change
Get
state
more and more rate.
If you're not attached to the Earth anymore, what are you? You're in the air. Let's forget about the air for a second and just say you jump in the air and what happens to you? Then you'd be going straight as an arrow, right? No rotational
Oh, no,
factor.
now we're falling through space
reference
with the
frame
Earth.
would then change from inertial to non-inertial.
That would be a different reference frame.
Let me
than
talk.
there,
Let me
Zedek.
talk. You will change from a non-inertial to an inertial reference frame. You don't leave reference frames. That's impossible.
I want to know when
you
I
ever-
see the F spin.
Have you ever
so you
take
change
experiment
reference frame,
running
you
in the
don't leave it.
train?
All right,
Well,
so this
go
guy
in the
believes
train.
in the globe model, right? So how about give us the best proof for the globe model?
I
If
want
it's
Earth
so
spin.
obvious, how do you prove the globe model? Let's
Horizon
convince
at 3
everyone in
miles,
this chat
it's
since it's so
definitely not
obvious.
How can
Go-
you prove the
go-
globe model
go-
to a bunch of
I'm
kindergartners
not
and
trying to
first
answer you.
graders is what I would ask. Like vision.
Let's hear the best proof for the globe model. Let's go. You've been
Best
attacking the flat Earth
And
nonsense.
keep it
so let's
simple
hear.
because there's some kindergartners and first
380
graders
feet
listening
of
and they want to
boat
get this
missing.
straight.
280 feet of boat missing at 20 miles. Weighing things at the equator versus the North Pole, different weights.
All right, so you're
Um,
saying the boat you're
So
making that
different
the boat
mediums and
disappears behind the horizon argument,
heights.
or
Correct.
did I hear that
Yes.
correctly?
Yeah.
All right,
So different mediums
are
and
you
heights
aware
and
of
everything?
the fact that technology now has caught up to this fact, and now we're able to see these things from very very far distances, as well as
Really?
the
Can you
nature
show
of
me
light
this
towers?
boat? Can you show me the boat that's disappeared by the horizon? 250 feet of the boat, by the way. And can you show me this new technology that brings it back into focus?
It's
Please-
literally called modern day cameras, and I think there's a video in the voice chat right now that somebody just posted.
Are you new?
And
Are you new
also-
here? Are you new here?
Are you new
to this,
here?
Are you new to the discussion?
Yeah, I was going to say this earlier. So Skygaze has been around for a little while. Obviously, hasn't been introduced to Zanuck.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's obviously never.
Yeah, I don't want to start posting pictures. Then I would get pissed at me. So let's just
I
go on.
don't want to pull the "Do you know who I am?"
You never
card,
met
but-
Mr. I have no reference frames?
Yeah.
What's weird to me,
Shaka, you
though,
don't leave reference frame.
how
Bendy
gravity,
levels,
pressure,
all sorts of stuff. You'll
and
have him going
resistance
for hours, and he'll never say
temperature.
anything.
So
what, you
just
have
to
a
let
big
you
beef
know, we're
against
about the
modern
camera and
technology, or?
I don't want to post pictures and piss off Jedi. So just realize that there's pictures I show that you will not bring the boat back into focus. However, there's all sorts of refraction and diffraction and squashing and squishing and compression ideas that have been thrown around, but not the camera.
Can you
So
do it
throw
at
the
night with
camera
glow in the
on.
dark shit? To where you don't have to keep bringing the sun and certain other things into it.
Fuck the sun.
Zanuck wouldn't do anything.
Oh, I mean, there's the nature of lighthouses, which is a very simple thing that wouldn't really work on a ball Earth model.
No, there'd be no point in them.
That's why they make them so high.
Okay, what is
That's
your
why they
best
got
I know,
proof
them so
right?
for?
high.
What is
You're
your
the
best
high
proof? What is your best proof for movement of Earth, and which movement are you measuring?
Best proof would be the scales that can be on airplanes and weigh things going different directions, east or west. Actually, the scales themselves measuring the different weights of known masses at the equator and north of the equator. And then lastly,
Measuring.
visual observations. That doesn't have to be from these controversial satellites, but just high altitude balloons or airplanes seeing low pressure zones only rotating
A sensor.
counterclockwise in the northern hemisphere.
Dude, it's like listening
A sensor by
to like
resistance
some
can tell you your
Warcraft nerd, I swear to
direction.
God.
Those are the three. Those are my three proofs.
Air
My
hitting
three
the
proofs.
right side of an object can tell you which way it's going with a sensor.
What is the speed you are spinning at your location?
At my location, about 800 miles an hour, 750.
So you are something like 55 degrees north.
I think we're.
Hold on to your hat, bro.
Or I mean,
Extreme. What
65.
goes
65.
Something, yeah, I think something closer to, yeah, 50 in that range. I can't remember.
55. Okay. How you can measure only the slowest speed that the Earth is moving?
How do you measure?
How you can measure only the slowest speed of the 5 speeds of Earth?
You know, you're talking about the lines, the tropic line, the equator, tropic
No.
Capricorn.
No. We are traveling around the sun, and our sun is going around the Milky Way, and the Milky Way is going, and the local group is going. There are 5 different speeds, and the Earth spin is the
6.
slowest one. How you can measure the slowest one?
Sure. So the slowest speed. So you look at the sun, even if it's
Oh,
all
I see- I
moving.
see what you're asking.
I'm
So
not
you have
sure.
the
I
Earth
believe.
spinning 1,000 miles an hour. It
It's
has a
almost-
rotational velocity. It has rotational velocity, and called
What is
angular
this
velocity.
over me?
Now, through that angular velocity, you can develop or understand and calculate what the forces would be on you. They'd be very small, by the way, 0.3% at the equator. That's you can measure this. Now you're talking about also traveling around the sun at 66,000 miles an hour. You could measure that too. Much smaller number, by the way. And now through the galaxy. That's an even smaller number because you only
Did you
measure
just
change
say
in
the orbit around the sun is a smaller number?
So we're just
smaller
like a gob of
feeling.
spit,
Didn't-
right,
weren't
on the
paying
ground.
attention.
What the fuck are you talking
as you get
about?
faster,
Henning?
Shit
you
up.
get faster.
They just
You
make
can't-
stuff
you
up.
won't-
Yeah,
Come on.
as you get faster,
None of these
as you get
speeds.
faster, you feel less.
None of these. Can I finish? None of these speeds are changing.
No.
The velocities are changing because the
There's no
the
speed.
direction is changing. So when you're on a circular path or an elliptical orbit, you have a small change in direction. That is what you can feel. You cannot feel
Can't feel
constant
anything.
speed by definition.
Okay.
Traveling through
That's more-
space with
that's
no
more of a
resistance, why would you hook
experience.
left?
When was the last time you felt that, Zanuck? When was the last time you felt that?
Where's the
Measure
steering wheel on these fucking planets in the sun?
Scale. I've measured it.
Where's the turning mechanism?
You've measured the change in velocity of the Earth.
Correct. Yes, I have.
When did you do
Okay.
that?
Whoa.
We have very,
Housekeeping?
very-
Is the
When
housekeeping
did you
just
When
do
was
on
it?
there, Zach?
we have
When was it?
we have hold on. We have very, very sensitive scales, and we do
Oh, no,
not
no.
use them in different latitudes based on the differences in weight.
Oh,
The
is
mass
this
will be the
Wolfie on the
same.
plane? Weighing shit.
Pardon me?
Is this the one that Wolfie does? That Fight the Flat Earth uses this? Is this the Wolfie video where he weighs
I
stuff
thought
on the
that's what I
plane?
was.
Are the cabins
Different places.
always pressurized? Exactly the same.
Hold on. Let me
The
finish.
different aircraft, different
I have a more
pressurized containers.
That he has the right. I like that video because it shows that difference going one direction versus the other. You doubt that actually happened?
No, I want to know if the planes were different and the atmospheric pressure within the cabin was exactly the same on both times. On
well,
all
actually, pressure
times.
doesn't- pressure
Wait,
doesn't-
wait. So the weight of something was different while you were flying around, and somehow that gave you the measurement of the velocity change of Earth. That's what you're saying?
Yes.
It gives you a
Wow.
different-
He's that lost
good,
his
that,
fucking
innit?
mind.
Your
It's
centripetal,
clever,
Wow.
your centripetal
Well, if you're
acceleration.
in water,
Your centripetal acceleration. Your centrifugal acceleration will be different. Yes.
Was this done on the day side or the night side?
Either way.
So
How come
how do
Either
I
way,
measure?
well,
the
it's
medium?
just different
How do I measure this,
spin.
Danny? Can you?
No,
I want the
can you,
information about the airplane being exactly the same atmospheric conditions inside the cabin.
Why would you?
Because
Why
aircraft
would,
would
you think the
change the
atmospheric
results
conditions
on the
would be a factor?
scale, right?
Why would you think the atmospheric conditions would be a factor?
Well, because pressure, the ability of the pressure objects, thus making
But we know
incremental
the
differences
point-
on
we know
electronic scales. Are you mad?
We know the buoyancy force of air based on the volume density.
I'm talking about the pressure within the container.
Yeah, the density per unit volume is. I mean,
So was it the
maximum
same?
volume is known. We'll
Was it
know
the
that.
same? So it's not a scientific experiment then, because you haven't fucked up your control variables.
We can take a range and then give you a.
Well, can we?
Come on. The weight
Let's
of an
throw this
object
fucking one out the window.
at altitude would determine the speed of the spin of the object that's underneath
Why would
it.
that? Why would the density of the air have anything to do with the speed of the Earth?
No, don't ask a question now,
Yeah,
Zanek.
yeah, Bev, exactly. Underneath it.
Wrong this claim or even statement.
Wow.
Use some validity.
How
to
long?
that.
Share your.
How long you have been in this conversation, Zan?
7,000 hours.
Zan, legit question.
No, he's
Which-
old school.
What
He-
grade did you get
he's
in geometry?
practiced-
What's your
practiced in
geometry
this
grade?
bullshit.
Grades?
Yeah, what was your geometry like when you studied geometry? How
Oh, I
did you
got
fare?
A's I got B's and C's in English, A's in the MS.
Damn, bro, you got A's. So what did you do? How did geometry fare for you?
Pardon me?
How did you fare in geometry class? I don't know how the
That's
question is very
my best
difficult.
class.
Huh?
That's one of my best classes in high school.
Right.
See,
So there's
obviously bullshitting.
so you were pretty good at geometry, right?
Yeah, I was tops in geometry, yes.
Yeah.
In
So it's
trigonometry,
pretty.
and calculus,
It's
yeah.
probably pretty rough, like being
Differential
told by
equations,
all these
no
people
point,
that
no point.
hey, like
Aerodynamics,
your geometry
thermodynamics,
grades don't really
one of the
matter to
classes I
the
took,
real
I've
life,
seen a lot of
right?
classes.
Must be
What's
annoying.
your point? What's your point?
My point, you already made my point. You put very high pride in the fact that you were able to regurgitate these geometric principles, and you were taught to apply them to reality, but you didn't grasp the fact that natural science and real life observation and experiments come before geometric modeling, and that's something you failed to understand. And now you're stuck in this situation where your ego is defending these principles, but it's not relating to reality. So
Says who? Says
I
you?
understand your predicament, and I feel
Says
sorry
you?
for you.
Says you?
No, says the truth of the world.
Right. Okay. Well, I went to a school that actually was not like that. They pride themselves on practical applications of all principles in all disciplines. So
Say that again. Sorry, you're
Let me
mumbling.
finish.
Can
Let me
you
finish.
be more specific?
We didn't just study. We just didn't study equations. We actually put them to use and prove them to ourselves where they came from, how to validate them, how they can be used in real.
Yeah,
everyday
but that's
life.
your issue, man. If you're starting with geometry and trying to prove the fact that your geometrical models are correct, and you're starting from the wrong point. You should start with the fact that here's an observation. How do I measure this observation?
Have you taken trigonometry?
What?
Have you taken trigonometry?
Have I taken trigonometry? What I'm saying here is that
So the answer is
you're
no?
engaging in a logical
The answer is
fallacy if you're
Whoa.
trying to make
So you haven't
reality
taken
fit your
don't
mathematical
understand.
models.
Yeah, why
That's a
don't you
logical
answer his
fallacy.
question though? Have you taken trigonometry? You asked him the same questions. Why can't you
Irrelevant
answer
question.
his? But he answered irrelevant questions as well. I mean, let's just
No,
be fair.
he didn't. My point is that you
Your point
have
is
to.
you doesn't
matter what
if
your
your
point
if your
is.
starting point is
I
trying
asked
to
you the
make
same
reality
question.
fit your
If we're
geometrical
gonna talk,
models,
Why doesn't he
gotta
then
answer
you
his
can make
question?
anything happen.
right? You asked me
This
a
is how
question.
Why
video
doesn't he
games
answer
are
Now I'm
made.
his
asking you a
question?
question.
Do you
Yeah, why
understand how
doesn't he
video
want to
games are
answer his
made?
question?
Answer my question, please.
Do you understand how video
I
games
do
are made?
understand.
Answer my question.
I answered it. Now, do you understand my question? Did you
No,
take
you didn't.
trigonometry?
I don't have to follow your fucking rules, man. If
Oh,
you would have
you asked
bent
me to follow your
reality
rules.
to your
I played along
geometrical
with your game.
rules, you
Now
can
you're not
make
playing
anything
fair.
happen.
You asked me if I went to class. You asked me what grades I got. I gave you all the answers you wanted.
You don't
I
have
asked
to.
you a
You don't
simple
have to
question. Can
recap
speak
what
and relate on
what
the
you
same
just what
same
you
level,
just told
and you
me.
won't answer
I
it.
know the sophistry bullshit you're
Did you
going through,
not
man. It's
take
complete
trigonometry?
nonsense.
Yes or no?
Did
He
you
didn't.
study?
He
Do you
didn't take
understand the term
trigonometry.
sophistry?
He
Did you
clearly
take
didn't take trigonometry.
Simple.
Also, someone has a really bad echo.
Did you take trigonometry? Yes or no? I'll wait for the answer.
Do you know what sophistry is? I'll wait.
Slim, fix your mic.
Yeah, someone has an echo, man. Oh, it's better.
It was a slim.
Okay.
Slim, guys, chill.
But anyway,
don't mute him.
San, how long have you been researching the flat Earth?
Who?
I think you guys muted Zanuck.
He's not gonna tell you.
It's like
I think he's muted.
how long did you research torrents in
Well, I've
World
been
of
looking.
Warcraft?
I've been looking at it for 3
You
or
can
4
know
years.
any lore
he's
you
not
want. It doesn't mean
researching
that it's
it.
reality.
He's only looking at it.
3 or 4 years, actually.
Okay, how long have you been discussing with this issue?
3 or
Whatever.
4 years. Am I muted or something?
3 or 4.
It's been going
Okay,
on.
so
Who cares? How long did
What
you
you
study
have- what
torrents
you
in
have
World of
learned.
Warcraft? How long
What
did you
is the
study
best-
the lore of the orcs in World of Warcraft?
sorry.
Does that give you any grasp of reality?
No, I want
I'm
to
sorry,
know.
it doesn't.
I want to know, Zan,
All right,
what is
Skygazer, did you take trigonometry?
Did you study sophistry?
Did you take trigonometry?
Nate,
Did you
you had
study
your time
sophistry?
earlier. This is finished.
I know, but I'm
asked
just
you your
asking. I'm just
question.
curious,
Your
man.
turn-
I'm
your
just
turn
Doesn't
is
matter.
mine.
I haven't
Did you
studied
study
trigonometry. I know
Have
the
you ever
basic
taken a trigonometry
concepts.
class? Yes or no?
I haven't studied trigonometry. I know
So
trigonometry.
you never took a trigonometry class.
Did you take a sophistry class? Did you take a
Look,
philosophy
I'm
class?
asking the questions
Did you
here.
take a class to understand basic logic that is the
Clearly
fundamentals
not.
of Earth?
Yes, I've taken classes that were based on logic. Absolutely.
Okay,
All
well,
right, so
well,
you understand. So can you
Look, did you
what's
take
your
Really?
explanation of
You didn't.
sophistry?
So when you
if
don't
if
take,
you
if you
understand,
don't know how to calculate distances based on angles, then you're kind of missing the boat on why math is useful in observing the
Based
world.
on
you
what
know,
angle? Can you
you're
walk me through
able
it?
to do that, but it assumes that you know at least the properties of one of those instances, or else you have to assume the properties of one of the three.
There are no assumptions at all.
Yes, there are.
No, they're not.
That's the
assumptions do I make
nature
when
of
I
it.
when I measure
That's
the
how
angle,
the trigonometry
hold
of
on.
Venus is done. You're
When I measure
assuming
an angle to
the
the
structure of
tree, hold
Venus
on,
and the
let me
size of
finish.
Venus.
When I measure the angle to a tree across the street,
How
and I
often do
know
you do
how
that?
far I am to the base, how come I can't tell how tall it is? Explain that.
What?
If I know
How often do you do that, Zanik? As a general thing,
Yeah,
like
like every
measuring
day,
angles to
every day,
trees
we'll do
across
a
the
measurement.
road?
My kids are in physics. My other one was a little younger. We do measurements all the time outside like this.
Are you talking about
That's
physics or
trigonometry.
theoretical physics? Because these are two completely different concepts, and I'm
What do you
very
mean?
worried that
What are you
you
talking
might not
about?
actually understand the
We're
difference.
talking about trig right now. This isn't even physics yet. We haven't got. Hey, let's walk before
You
we can
said
run.
you
guys.
just said your kids are doing physics, so you
Yes.
measure angles to trees.
No, I have a younger that's doing trigonometry now.
All right.
Oh, but sorry, man, you misunderstand the point. That's not physics.
Yeah.
That's not physics. I said I have kids in physics and in trigonometry, and we do all sorts of experiments outside all the time.
Right?
So
yeah,
is-
you should
is
probably stick to
trigonometry
the
an
to
experiment?
the
So-
physics ones. You know.
Physics,
I've got a question.
we might do
You know
things
Earth
with
curve
pendulums.
calculators?
We might do things with
Do they-
pendulums. We might do things with mass acceleration. We might do things on the
Yes,
dyno
you
for
got-
with the race car. I mean, we have all sorts of things to play with here to help these kids learn the sciences.
Yeah.
Hey, I just wanted to
Yeah,
interrupt and
that's-
say
that's
I've
awesome.
never taken trigonometry. Just that's all.
I have a
said that?
question to who is it daddy?
I've taken a little bit of trigonometry, but then I put it back where I found it.
So when
I've taken trigonometry, I've taken calculus, and I've taken a bunch
Yeah,
of.
I've done it. I've done a bit of trig in my time.
Okay.
Dude,
So,
math is
if
not
you understand
ultimate
trig, then you
nonsense.
understand there's no
It's just like
assumption.
you have to
You
use it for
measure
what it's worth.
angles. You measure hard information by measuring angles. So that's that's something you can actually measure. You don't need to know what the numbers mean. It's all about proportions. It's all about ratios. So
What
You don't
angles
have to
are
know
you
what the numbers
measuring?
mean, guys. You don't
the
have to
values
know what
don't
the
mean. They're
numbers
just
mean. It's all
ratios.
good.
How the
What
Egyptians
angles?
do it.
What angles are you measuring, Zanik?
What's that?
What angles are you measuring?
Angles from your perspective, from your position to
Here
anything.
comes the trigonometry class, guys. Everyone who didn't study trigonometry, listen up.
So an angle is when two lines are not parallel, they're at an angle, right? Is that what you mean?
That's correct.
Okay. So you said you are measuring angles. So you are measuring or noting the difference or the ratio between lines that are not parallel, correct?
They can be parallel too. We can still measure the angle between two parallel lines.
Yeah, but there isn't any angle then,
It's
is
called
it?
zero. The angle would be zero, right?
Yikes.
Well, okay, you can assign this special number to this
Special number
special
zero?
case, right?
Okay. No value.
Okay, but let's see any other case. You know, when you do not have parallel line with this special zero number. So when you say you're measuring angles, you're measuring or taking note of how much an angle there is between two straight lines. Is that correct?
Correct.
So can you give an example maybe? What sort of angles you are measuring?
I can have an angle to this object in the distance down the road. and I have a
which normally
angle.
is.
I walk 3 feet over or 10 feet over, and I measure the angle again to that object. Now I have
Right.
2 angles,
And-
and I measure out the distance between my 2 locations, and I can tell you exactly how far that object is away.
Wait, that was one angle because you mentioned a line connecting you and an object down the road, and then you mentioned the same line connecting you and the object down the road after you have increased your elevation. Did I get your example right?
No, I just basically looked at object, measured, make sure I was in line with it, and verified I'm in line, and made note of that. Made a right angle. And took
In
10
line?
steps.
What do you mean in line with the
Oh, I have a
object? I
laser
mean,
hitting-
if
I'm hitting it, I can see it. I have a viewfinder. I have something where I can determine that is where it is.
Oh,
okay, so one point is your location, and a second point is the object.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
But this is 2 points. 2 points.
You need 2
find
points to make a line, right? You
one
need 2
straight
points-
line, yes.
2 points.
So we need
straight
2
line.
lines to get an angle. So where's the second line?
I take a 90-degree angle from this line we've just created, and I take 10 steps over to the right.
You take a 90. Wait, let me picture this. So
Wait,
you're
what?
sidestepping a little bit. Is that what you're saying?
No, physically I'm taking a side step. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So then you will have one more point, and then you will have
Now I have
one more
now I
line,
have-
right?
now, get this. Hey, the answer is I have 2 lines now. Woohoo! There we
Yes.
go. I have a line to the object, and I have a line to the right of me, and I make sure that angle is a 90-degree angle. That's easy to do without even using a protractor.
Is it?
What angle is a 90-degree angle?
It's called a right angle.
Yeah. How would you
So
do
then,
that
how are you going to form a triangle when you have 2 right angles at its base?
No, we have 1 right angle at its base. We have
Okay.
a line to the object. I'm making a step to the right. I have assured that's a right angle because it's very easy. I just take any stick I want, any length, and make sure that line lines up with that stick at the exact same point. That would be a 90.
I
That'd be
see.
exactly 90-degree angle.
Okay.
So your second angle is going to be
Forcing
smaller
one-
than the right angle, right?
Yeah. So now I got a 90-degree angle. Now I take the angle from the new position over to the right of me to the object and measure that angle. And I might get something like, 50 degrees, 60 degrees, whatever, some number.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Anyone,
Now
anyone.
I take- if that's the case, all I have to do is use trigonometry to determine
Yes.
what the distance is between that point to the right of me and the object.
Wait a minute.
Or
Have
the
we
90
only got we've got a 90-degree angle and like a 50-60-degree angle. Is that it? That's what we've got so far.
Right.
For trig.
Oh, he also said the base of the triangle. So he also has one side because he knows the distance by which he sidestepped. So far he's describing parallax.
No, that's not parallax at all.
What is parallax then?
That's something
No, wait a
completely
minute. We're
different.
drawing a triangle and we've only got a right angle and another angle. So so far we've got a triangle with,
Yes.
I suppose we've got all of the internal angles, right?
All I need to do now is take the known side, right? Or the known angle.
Well, they're all known, aren't they? Because all of the angles are
Tell me
known.
how trigonometry works. We can say.
Are we drawing
hold
this up on a?
Hold on.
Okay.
I
can't even
I'm trying to draw it on my board.
Opposite over. Listen to me. Opposite over adjacent. You know what that what that is in trig? Anybody who's taken trig before?
Cosine.
Would that be the opposite
No.
side over the angle, or what?
Opposite over adjacent.
SOHCAHTOA.
Yeah, the opposite what over the angle?
Opposite
Is it the opposite
side.
The opposite
So when
side.
From the angle, we made a 60-degree angle we measured. Come on, you can't be this slow. Come on.
From the angle,
Opposite of the
You can't be this slow. Dude, you're such a
Angle.
fucking
Come
nerd.
on.
Nobody cares about your geometry fucking
We got
nerdy ass
60 degrees to the
morphing
angle.
World of
I think
Warcraft
so
type
far,
bullshit.
so far he found out.
We're getting
Over,
there.
listen, opposite over adjacent. That's tangent.
Yeah.
We take the tangent of that angle, and that will be equal to. Listen to me. That will
Is
be
that
equal.
true
Nobody
for
has
every
to
triangle?
listen to you.
Be
Stop claiming this false
That
sense of
will be
superiority,
equal
man.
to the
You were able to
opposite
Sky
regurgitate
Gazer,
something.
let him
over
finish.
the known distance,
Sky Gazer,
5 steps
There's
to the
no
right.
known
Why can't you
distance,
let me finish?
Zanuck.
What the fuck?
Easy, Zanuck. Easy now.
So you take the tangent
Aw,
of that
Zanuck.
angle, and it gets you the opposite, which is the distance to the object, and the adjacent, which is the distance from
We've
the
only
90
got
degree angle to
angles.
the angle you measure.
Zanuck, we have
You get a
only
ratio,
been
you
measured
figure it out.
angles.
It's easy. It's a piece of cake.
It's
you just
not.
measure the distance without using anything else
No,
other than
you-
angles.
No,
Yes.
Zanuck. No.
Oh, where am I wrong?
No.
Please correct my math. Please correct my math.
Okay,
A
I will.
triangle will only have internal angles, right? There is no way of knowing how big the sides are on that triangle. Unless you've got a well length, you muppet.
Anybody here taking trig, please chime in.
I've taken trig. I take trig. I'm working on trig at work today.
Would you please straighten out the answers fools on this one, please, because he's not listening.
Zanuck, I can maybe I can try and clear this up a little bit.
No. Let me just finish this. Let me just finish this. You've got a triangle with angles 60, 60, 60. How big are the sides, Zanuck?
We know a 90, we know a 60, and we know the 10 feet between where I started and off to the right. Remember, I took 5 steps off to the right, and I got 10 feet.
We've got
So
angles.
all you have to do is
10
take
feet now. We've got a distance, have
Let
we?
me finish.
Exactly.
If I finish, we could be over. This conversation will be over. You're making it drag on for fucking half an hour.
I had to get you to put a distance in there, though, didn't I?
Ooh, Zanuck, bro.
I will mute myself.
Share your pain, Zanuck. Share your pain.
For 10 seconds. Just stop talking. Let me finish, and I'll mute myself for 10 seconds. In 10 seconds.
I look so
All right?
much forward
Listen,
to it. Mute
fuck,
yourself for
Johnny,
10
listen,
fucking years.
Listen, guys. I have a 90
Nobody's
degree.
listening to you. We're
I
laughing at
stop
you.
off to the
But
right.
that's not right.
10
That's not
feet.
right that nobody's
I got a
listening to him,
60
though.
degree angle.
I'm
I
listening.
take the tangent of that angle. Now that is the opposite over the adjacent. I get that ratio. I figure out how far it is to the object. Done.
Yeah, you don't. You need at least one side measurement.
We did with 10 feet.
All right,
Remember?
no,
10
you
feet to
didn't
the
have
right?
that before.
Yes, I said I took 10 feet to the right. I took 10 steps to the right.
Did anybody else hear that? Anybody
Yes,
else hear
everybody
Zanuck
did.
with his
Yeah.
10
To be
steps
fair,
to the
he
right?
did. To be fair, he
Yeah,
did.
he said
Alright,
that.
Zan.
He said that in the
All
beginning.
right,
He
Zan,
said that
time
in
to
the
mute
beginning.
yourself.
All
All
right.
right, Zan, time to mute yourself. You promised everybody.
Yeah, so
No,
be
that's not
honest.
right.
can
That's
I just
not
go
right.
over
And mute
that?
yourself
Like,
now.
how do you do 10 steps over the adjacent angle? Like, how mathematically? How's that work?
You're drawing me back in. Okay.
Well, I don't just is it a standard measurement of
You have to
thing for
you asked me
finding
a question.
out
Let me
distance?
finish it. What is with you guys?
Let me finish.
So you got the line to the object.
See,
You have a
no,
90
that's
degree
not
angle
right.
to the
We're
right.
making fun of
You
each
take
other.
10 steps. You measure the 10 steps. Say it's 10 feet. Okay, done. There's your adjacent side. You got opposite over adjacent is tangent. You calculate
Okay.
tangent of that angle, and that gives you a
Okay.
ratio of the opposite over the adjacent.
Dude,
Done.
if you literally want to learn trigonometry, Google
I
it.
will-
It takes you 5 seconds. You don't have to listen to this autistic moron
Whoa.
shouting in your face,
Hey, nah,
telling
that's
you to
not
let
right.
him
Easy
finish
now.
in front of 30 other
Easy
people.
now.
That's
Easy.
not
Fucked
right.
up.
Telling
You're
him to
asking
shut
me-
up.
Right.
Easy.
He's saying he does not understand how trig works.
Easy.
Hey, Zanuck, are you an educator in your line of work? I'm just curious.
My line of work, partially, yes.
Ugh.
Ugh.
Sorry, just your tone. It's hard to stand it when
No,
you're educating.
Usually he's more calm.
Much easier if people just kind of listen and we talk about it rather than
Exactly.
calling me
Nobody's
names,
listening to him.
insulting,
Can I
and disagreeing.
ask you
Come on.
one question?
Zanuck, do you not come in here every day telling people they don't understand shit? Zanuck? Do you not come in here every day telling people they don't understand shit? How many times have you told me I don't understand shit? And you're really crying about mocking right now? Get the fuck out of here, bro.
Nah.
Come on. Get real.
Nah, don't say that to him.
Can I have
Get
one
real,
question?
Zanuck.
Come on.
Zanuck's all
You
about a
tell me
Can I
program,
what
guys.
I tell
I have
you.
one
So,
question.
come on.
Program that follows a
How
model.
how you use the trigonometry in measuring anything in celestial bodies? How?
Then you're talking more about
He
parallax.
can't.
Why don't you guys take the floor for a while? Looks like I'm not really welcome to talk anymore.
what he's asking is how can you measure something just by looking at it only, and that's it.
Like the sun, for
Xanic, just
example.
stop talking, dog. Because I mean, they don't want to listen
He
to what you
muted
guys say.
himself. He said he's going to go away. When he
That's
comes
not
back,
right though that nobody wants to
he'll come
listen
back.
to him at the end of the day.
how
Let's
can-
be
He's
honest.
muted
Do you
himself.
have any idea how long we've been listening to Xanic?
Like 2 years.
Long
Right.
enough.
Right. So if you're just new to Xanic, you're brand new, welcome. Okay? Because that's how
was
that
pa-
goes with Xanic.
That was painful to hear.
Yeah,
You gotta
I
put the upper
know.
limit on that guy. It's such a pain.
I mean, did you ask him to explain something?
Yes, they
I
did.
don't.
So to sum up the point, what Xanic perhaps forgot to mention is that this exercise works only for right triangles. Okay, so that's one prerequisite. You must apply that on a right triangle, because if it's not a right triangle, then it doesn't work. Then you have to do something else. Then you must look for special trigonometry cases, right? And the other thing is that if you're supposed to use right triangles only, then you will get a line of sight to a celestial body, like someone said, like, I don't know, the sun, the moon, whatever. But then when you move 10 feet to your side, then that celestial object is going to follow you. So you're still going to have a right angle to it. So how will you apply trigonometry on that one?
I
Well,
think
I
think
know
you
what they
cannot
do.
you cannot do the trigonometry without applying the perspective. You have to apply that in the occasion.
And right triangle trig will only apply to an object that stays in one plane. If you have something that's moving around, moving up, moving down, and you going over the flat plane in non-planar ways, those rules are going to break down slightly. It gives you a
Xanic is
closer
learning
approximation, but it's
trigonometry.
not
That's
always going to be
progress.
right. And even when you use right triangle trig, you get an object that's 3 to 10,000 miles away. You don't get one that's billions and billions of miles away unless you assume the Earth is a ball moving millions of miles through space for the bottom leg of your triangle.
I had one question. If San Francisco is doing this for 3 or 4 years, what has he learned so far?
Clearly nothing. Clearly
No,
nothing.
I tried to ask him.
He's not here to learn. He's here to defend the globe, and
He's here to
not here to learn from us.
Which is totally fine.
This is why the guy comes in here every day.
Do so.
Every day comes in with the same arguments, get destroyed, and tells us that we don't understand. This is the problem
and
with
that's
people
my
like
point, right?
Xanic.
Okay.
And that's kind of my point. Is like you have like 30, 40 something flat earthers here who are we've already kind of dealt with these mathematical and geometrical concepts. We've already overcome them and dealt with them in real life. And now we want to discuss these kind of deeper, more interesting topics, because once you realize that this is false, you want to like start to investigate it. But if you're stuck in that level of like having to defend something, then you never progress. And that's why
I totally agree with you. But at the end of the day,
how can someone be
Xanic
so
was
many years?
answering. Hang on though. Xanic was.
Someone's
just
got some
answering
nasty
the question.
background noise. Sort it out before I mute everyone. It's really annoying.
I think it's Slim.
Yeah.
What? Sorry? No, Slim's not doing anything wrong here, boys. Come on.
No, he was making, or someone's making background noises. But yeah, at the end of the day, all Xanic was doing was answering the questions you guys asked him. If I mean, does it make sense to ask a question and then when he gives an answer, you get angry about it?
Nobody
if you
got
ask
angry,
him,
and
But
I
that's
don't believe he gave an answer.
Well, that's why
Okay,
I'm
so
saying,
you
like,
don't
why
like
even
that- you
allow
don't like
this
the answers he gave.
type of person? It's like if you're a group of sheep,
Why
would
even
you
discuss
allow
it
a
when it's
wolf?
already done and over? Why not move on to another topic?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
because you guys kept on asking him questions,
Sean, did you
that
have
specific
something to
topic.
say about the flat Earth where we live?
The flat Earth where we live, honestly, not a lot of questions. I've been doing a lot of research and stuff on it. I'm still a glober, obviously, but like I'm chill with all the with everybody's opinion. I'm just here to listen and stuff. You know what I'm saying?
All right.
Welcome.
So what do you guys think
Well,
is
if
Antarctica?
the Earth is
What
not a
Antarctica?
globe, then you're not a glober.
No, that's what I said.
I know.
Asked about Antarctica.
I'm just saying, if it's not a globe, then there's no globers. You're all just flat earthers who haven't realized it yet.
Flat earthers in denial.
Who asked about
Guys.
Antarctica?
Maybe. You guys
you
believe
got-
in a curvature that hasn't been found yet, so you tell me.
We're living a lie.
So, seeing how you got here.
Is it Sean?
It's Sean.
Sean,
I think someone
how you
wanted
got
to
here?
start a topic about Antarctica.
Yeah, who asked about Antarctica?
Yeah, me, because I wanna get deep here. We've already transgressed this nonsense of geometry and mathematical things being reality. So now you get to a point where you start to ask yourself, okay, well, if the Earth is flat and then we understand that no nation is able to access Antarctica, well then what the fuck is it? I think that's the real interesting thing that's needs to be addressed here.
Yeah, we don't know. It's interesting.
What is Antarctica?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the tallest continent.
Yeah,
With
that's
the
something
highest
that's being
with the highest elevation.
Yeah,
the average
Yeah.
elevation.
What? How high
Yeah.
is it?
was
I've
like
never
higher
been
than
there. I've
Mount
got no
Everest.
opinion of it.
Higher than Mount Everest? How's that?
No, I think it's got an average of 13,000 feet, hasn't it? I think.
Yeah, that's a lie. It's not higher than Mount Everest. Mount Everest is the highest point on the
Well,
planet.
how do you define like what does that even mean if it's the highest level continent? Like that's an
average
interesting
of the
statement in itself.
elevation.
Well,
The
the
sea
reason
level.
the reason it would be the highest level continent is because it's mostly made of ice or frozen water, and the poles are what kind of determine the water level. When the poles go down, water levels rise.
Right.
So it would make sense why it would be, because it's what balances the water.
No, not 100%.
Hmm.
If the water
plays-
if the water gets warmer, it also the water level also rises because it gets bigger, I guess.
What do
Do
you
you know-
elaborate? Explain that, because I don't understand what that means.
Yeah,
If the
that's
water
what I
gets
was thinking because that's an interesting thing
No.
that people take as a given. Like when things get hotter, it gets bigger. But why does that apply to water? Like when people say it's
Be-
getting warmer, that it means automatically the sea level is going to rise. So what's even
because
the
the polar
logic behind
caps
that?
melt. The polar caps melt when it's warmer, so the sea level
Yeah,
rises.
but if you have like an
Yeah.
ice cap in a water, the water level stays the same. Like you can have you can have like a glass of water and you put an ice cup in it, and the water level stays the same even if the ice cap is
Huh?
melting.
Wait, so if
Yeah, I
you
guess
have
that's
if you have water and you add ice cubes, are you telling me the water
No,
level
not if
doesn't
you
rise?
add it. Not if you add it, but if you have if your starting point is a cup of water with an ice cube in
Uh-huh.
it, and you look at the water level, you draw a line on the glass, and then you
Uh-huh.
wait until the water melts. The water line stays the same level. It won't move.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
But if
So that's
if
what
I
I'm
have
saying.
a
Like the argument of like, oh, ice caps are melting and falling into the water, then
that's not the
how
same
does
thing
that?
though, because so you have a glass of water with an ice cube already submerged in the water, right? The ice cube
Yeah.
is already water in a different state of matter. When it melts, it already takes up the volume or space it has displaced. Now, if you have a ice cube in water and you take it out before it melts, the level of your water will fall. Also, with the polar caps, they are not submerged
Yeah, but that's
in
not
the
what
water.
that's not what's happening on Earth. though.
Hang on. Yeah, that's not what's happening. So what's happening with the polar caps is they are not. A part of it is submerged in the water, but for the most part, it's floating on the water like land. You know,
No,
Antarctica,
you are
for
incorrect.
all intents and purposes, is a big
It's only
piece of
few
Iceland.
percent. No, you are incorrect.
How am I
It's
incorrect?
only few
I'll say-
percent.
yeah.
It's only few percent that the ice is floating.
Mhm.
Have you seen the
Yeah.
iceberg?
And most of the
Because
ice is what? What is most of the ice on Antarctica?
most
It's land,
of the
right?
ice is underwater already.
But
most
what is
of the
Antarctica
ice.
mostly?
Wait, how do we know this?
Wait, Antarctica is
Continent.
south, right?
It's a solid land.
Yes,
With
Antarctica.
some
It's
snow
solid land.
over it.
Exactly.
Yeah, with
It's land.
Right. Yeah. So obviously, if that stuff that's on land is melting and it's falling into the water, melting into the water, then you end up with a larger body of water as a result.
Yes, more water on the planet, and the water levels will rise. Because I mean, the planet's not getting bigger. So where does all this new water go?
Well, the thing is, water when it freezes takes up a less density than water that is liquid, and so you can put a bunch of ice cubes in water. It'll raise the volume, but when it melts and goes back into a liquid form, it won't go up to that same level because it was less dense. And so it's not going to raise the level. It'll just melt, and the level will stay more or less, static. So it's not going to be an issue.
Do you believe that the oceans are rising?
No.
In the 100 years. Let's say, do you believe that the oceans are rising in 100 years from now?
I don't know.
Well, at least you're asking
20
the
years
question,
ago,
do you
20
believe
years
it?
ago, Al Gore told me I was going to be underwater when I was in high school. I was supposed to be underwater because of the ozone layer and climate change. Oh no, I'm sorry. Back in the day, it was global warming. Well,
Yeah,
still
well,
not underwater yet. So
You know who loved that? You know who loved that narrative? It was all of the real estate owners that bought really cheap property on the
on the
coastline.
coastlines. Yep.
They got super cheap real estate because
Yeah, but
everybody
this
thought it
shit
was
is still
gonna.
going on, yeah? This shit
But
is still
now they are under an ocean, yeah. As we can
the shit
see.
hasn't
Yeah,
stopped.
exactly.
The climate change stuff hasn't
Dude,
stopped.
it's the ultimate thing. It's the ultimate mindfuck. Like, because everybody intuitively knows that the coastline properties are the most valuable ones because then you have a view of the ocean.
The
and
climate
then
changes
you
every
just
day.
But why do you
No,
guys
that's the
think?
weather, dude. That's the weather. You don't
Hang
get
on,
the
though.
climate.
No, but
Isn't
even
it-
the climate,
isn't it-
It's not
like
a
from year to
change.
year.
Isn't it the rich people that bought all these properties on the ocean shore? Like that land is covered by water now.
Yeah, but what about in 100 years? Will they be sink in the oceans?
I don't know.
Well, who the fuck knows?
I don't know.
Probably not.
Think
Probably
about
not.
this. If it would be true, would there be any million cities on the coastline? Would any builder build any building on the coastline if it would be true?
Why
That's
not?
true.
Yeah,
Well, I
we-
guess
A
we
builder doesn't just
build-
choose to build a house; he gets contracted to build a thing
Yeah.
on the house. So a builder doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, and we build over water all of the time. You know what? Why stop
Yeah.
now?
What does makes you think about rising oceans? Does
Well,
anyone believe them?
This is basically
Except the-
an anti-human cult that looks at man's influence on the environment as this disastrous thing that needs to be curtailed. They're telling people not to have kids. They're telling them not to use cars. They're telling them not to advance. This is an anti-human cult. It's about time that we call this for what it is. And this is one of the many anti-human cults that arise in the face of godless atheism, where you need some sort of replacement for the virtue that you can't exercise religiously. You have to care about the collective. You have to care about Gaia. You have to care about everything else, but the stuff that's actually real. The stuff that gives man value. His God that appraises him and gives him worth and ultimate priceless value.
Yes, let's go.
Sure.
I agree. Beautiful. That was beautiful.
So that's only viable from a religious perspective.
No, it's not. That's the real
No,
human
it is.
experience.
No, that's his opinion, but the beginning of that had nothing to do with religion. It had to do with the anti-human sentiment behind all these alarmism scares that, like Chalkett have been pointing out, they've been lying to us for decades about it. None of the stuff they said was going to happen has happened, yet they keep saying it's going to happen in a future time, just like we're going to go back to the moon in a future time.
Yeah,
we're going to
2024.
time. It's always put off into
Dude,
the
I love
future,
that.
these horrible, terrible things, so that each new generation can be even more terrified than the one before and can keep going with this anti-human propaganda like we have in the chat here from Pryor.
All I know is if
Pryor
they
says
say it's
flat
going to
earther,
get
I can put up
Jesus
with
Christ
the climate
returning.
change denying. That's messed up. We legit murdering our kids. Lol. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
What?
They
Might
say it's
join
going to
up
get
with
really
Greta.
hot. We're probably going to get freezing soon. That's
Yo,
all.
I want to go find Greta
Pryor,
and hang out
you
with
gotta
her.
mic up and defend yourself,
Fuck out of
bro.
here.
Mic up, Pryor. Defend yourself,
Yeah.
bro. What
No,
you gotta
it's
say about
not.
that,
It's not
Pryor?
it's not like a one against anyone here. I think the interesting thing here is even if you just look at the historical, like this is publicly available information. If you look at the front pages of Time magazine, and you see the articles that they're posting, because it's very common knowledge that the Time magazine is the propaganda arm of the CIA in the U.S. And this is all documented information.
They're
And
going
so
to try to
you-
tell you that it's the little person's fault that supposedly the world's going to hell. It couldn't have anything to do with the worldwide war machine, the giant deceptions left and right, the mass media hypnosis.
Right.
Couldn't have anything to do with what they're doing. You better recycle your darn newspaper or you're murdering children, according to
Right. Well,
certain
I think
people.
I think the interesting thing here is that these guys are super into psychology and evolutionary theory and this kind of thing, and they do a lot of experiments on rats. And what they found from doing this experimenting on rats was that fear is a very strong motivator. So they are able to scare rats into certain behaviors. So that's essentially what they're applying, because they have these like high level
Are you
scientists.
calling me a
They
rat?
are very and they have these, very intelligent people. They have done real life experiments, but there are other people above them who are trying to transpose these actual experiments onto humanity. And that's what you're dealing with here through these propaganda arms. It's like a machine that's trying to push you into certain behavior. So if you're in a state of fear, then you're going to react to it if you believe that it's real. And they're trying to push a certain type of behavior. What their end goal is, who knows? That seems to be the mechanics that they're working with.
The end goal is to keep people in a state of constant fear so that they are, feel powerless to change their situation, so that they believe Big Daddy, Big Mommy government have to save them, fix them, protect them. They can't possibly deal with all of these huge worldwide problems. So they have to
Right.
give up their power, their autonomy, their control over their own life to this fear machine. And then you've got people in here. I mean, it's sad. I'm sorry if I sound like I'm upset with the people here preaching it. I mean, you guys are just programmed mind control robots. It's not your fault. It's the people in charge that I'm upset with, not you guys.
Nah,
Just so
Mary,
you know.
you're good.
I'm very happy that the people who are here
Wow.
are here to educate themselves and maybe find out another side, because you're not going to find
Wow.
it in the mainstream media.
Yeah.
Who's
I think
wowing
it's
me?
not an
Who's
attack
wowing
to
me?
the man, but it's an
Yeah, he's
attack
being
to the
rude.
mindset,
Yeah, I know.
right?
True.
Because it's
I'm
nothing
sorry.
personal.
It's just-
the mindset.
Yeah,
It's this
but listen,
mindset
I
that
think-
gets you messed up. So I
I
don't know
think-
you, Nate, personally, right? I don't know any of you guys personally.
I hear you. I hear you.
But it's the
And Mary,
mindset.
I hear you as well. But I think, for the most part, all of us here, Globers or Flat Earthers, agree on most of these conspiracies. I don't believe in climate change either. I don't know about the moon landings. I don't trust my government the same way you do. The only differences we have is on the shape of the Earth.
Yeah,
But
I'm
everything
not.
else,
I was not
think
trying to
we're
lead.
on the same page.
Yes, I'm not trying to, load you into that. I mean, if you don't fit into what I just said, then don't put yourself in there. I'm sure everyone could search their heart and figure out the truth. But some of us, have been around
Right.
here for a while. I say this has been going on, like Chocolate said, for decades. We were, when we were in high school, college, it was all, the ozone holes, everybody's going to die. And I wasted like a ton of years of my life. I mean, I won't say they're wasted because I learned lessons from them, but actually believing that nonsense and I've already done it all. So don't be lecturing me, Mr. Pryor. I rode my bike everywhere, didn't own a car, had no electricity, lived in the mountains. I mean, because I thought I have to have zero impact on the world, right? Because otherwise it's going to, be destroyed. Yeah, by me. So I don't want
Yeah.
a smart remark. Somebody giving me a smart remark. I'm not even done with my statement yet. So my point is, one day I realized, I'm having zero impact on the earth. I could have that same impact by just being dead. It's all part of the culture of death, because
Right.
they want you to
Right.
have so little impact and use so little resources. You might as well be dead, because that's what they really want you to be anyway. Because you're just unless you are an efficient slave. So therefore, once I realized that, I realized, no, we have the gift of life. We're supposed to live on this earth. You're supposed to counteract as a human being made in the image of God who has a will and a purpose on life and a destiny to do something greater than just avoid using resources. You should have a balance of what you give to the world that makes the resources you use worthwhile. Not just sit there and try to limit how many resources it is. I mean, that's just ridiculous. That's just killing yourself slowly.
Let's go.
Right.
I totally agree with you.
That's
I
awesome,
agree with
and
you
I think like
100%.
it's a very like it's a very nice like
Thank you,
kind of
Tracy.
interpretation to go from that, like simplifying it to the point where you know, it's about like resource management. So if you consume 0 resources, you're the ultimate like citizen, and the only way to consume 0 resources is by being dead. Like that's the logical conclusion, which is a lot of the things that people understood when they heard like Bill Gates's speech.
Yeah, but
was
what
that,
is
you
the
know,
resource though? What is the resource?
right,
Is
and that's
finite? Is it
it's
infinite?
engaging on a
If you
it's
don't
engaging-
explore the earth that you live on, and if you're not aware of where those resources, because resource is the blanket term, if you're not aware where those come from, then why would you jump on a bandwagon either arguing for resources or either arguing against resources or pontificating, professing what to do with all those resources, how to handle these resources, how to save our planet? I mean, you don't have a clue where you are, and you're talking about resource management?
Yes, let's go.
Exactly. And that's super interesting, because I think a lot of these arguments that these elites are presenting, they're taking a lot of things as givens, like as assumptions, like the fact that we live on an enclosed system, which, you know, we may or might not be, like whether it be the Earth as we know it, as we're being portrayed, like whether these are all the continents that exist on the Earth. This is unknown to us, but a very concrete fact of this is, you know, that's being portrayed as like oil or fossil fuels being like a limited resource, like, and then you have examples of like I'm from northern Norway, where there is a lot of oil resources, and what we discover there is that these areas that were previously discovered to be, you know, we pumped all of the oil out, and now we're like, oh shit, there's no more oil. And then 3 years later, we found out, hey, this deposit is just replenished. And so
Are you saying that the oil is regenerating itself, like they are saying?
I'm not saying that that's what it is, but that's literally what's happening in the real world. So the deposit that used to be where they used to have no workers, because you have oil platforms in the middle of the ocean, and you have to dedicate hundreds of workers to this platform, and you send them there, and then once it's depleted, you remove the workers from there, and these are real people that are not some higher elite, you know, Illuminati type people. But then you find out that, oh, hey, actually, they're being sent out back again because there's more oil there now. And then it just doesn't fit with this narrative of, like, these are finite resources that, you know, are going to expire at some point. So it just breaks apart.
So how would the oil replenish?
Well, how would it? You tell me. I don't know. I don't know how the Earth works. Why is grass green?
But that makes totally sense, because we've been told that it's dinosaurs and stuff like that that have died in the past million or trillion years ago.
Don't even get me started on dinosaurs.
Yeah, but anyway, that's what we've been told. So every time you fill up your car, remember to thank the dinosaurs.
It's not. Well, okay.
But it's just
thank the
one
reptiles.
psyop or whatever to tell that it's an finite source, but it's infinite. I think it's infinite. It's endless source of energy, and we don't know it in a general.
How is it
we don't.
infinite?
How could we? How do we know? We don't know why
it goes
grass
back
is
like
green.
Like Skygazer
I
just
like
told
how
that
you
it
talk
will
about
go
stuff
back.
without any empirical proof or any scientific evidence, my friend. I like it.
There he is. There he is. From the bottom of the pond. Coming in, perhaps to lie again. Let's hear you. what do you know about Mars? What was it that you were speaking about? What was it? Is it 6 hours already? No, it's almost 9 hours ago. So what was it, Zetman, about Mars?
So 2 points here. One guy is encouraging, like, let's acknowledge we have a situation where you have this one globe provocateur, Shill, who's just entered the chat, gained a lot of attention. And then there's another guy who's provoking him and trying to dissuade the conversation. We were just talking about finite resources, the global elite, and now we're gonna get devolved into nonsense debate.
I know.
About LARPy,
I started the conversation.
LARPy.
I remember.
Geometry.
I was here 5 minutes ago when I talked about the resources and the Earth, and that you do not know where you are, right?
Yeah. So why
That
are
was
you
me.
engaging this nonsense peddler, this snake oil?
No,
salesman
that's
that's
not
trying to
what.
dissuade
Just
this
please stop,
conversation?
Skygazer. That's not what happened. You guys, like, seriously. So the thing happened, and then you're going to sit there and talk 10 minutes about the little thing that happened because you're annoyed about it. It's just a ridiculous thing to do. ZX Man said, "Why are you guys talking about something that you don't have scientific evidence for?" I have no idea what he's talking about. So ZX Man, is that who said it? Can you clarify what thing do you think we don't have
Yep.
scientific evidence for?
I think that's
That
with
we have. That's we have
natural-
infinite resources about oil and gas and natural stuff like this.
That's
Yeah, we
that's
don't
when
have
all
infinite
scientific
resources.
evidence.
Okay, so the question is, so what evidence do we have for this? I mean, some people do say that we probably have a lot more resources than is being made known to the common man. I think that's a completely legitimate statement to make. It's not really a statement about scientific evidence. It's more of a philosophical and political statement that if you knew that, even the people who go out and do these Wall Street protests, they think it's the 1%, right, that's controlling them. We know it's probably less than that that's really controlling all the resources, right? So if you had a tiny group of people that was like doing whatever the heck they wanted and had like every kind of luxury they could imagine in the world and controlled the minds of most of the people in the world, it's quite possible they would hide things from the common man. That seems like a legitimate statement that's backed up with a lot of evidence. The evidence is we know the government lied. There's documented cases they lied. Gulf of Tonkin, confirmed false flag by the U.S. Naval Institute, for example. Many different ways we've heard the government lies. There's your evidence. We have caught the government lying multiple times. So why trust them to give us or let access the ordinary people to have access to all the resources, or even know how many resources there are? Because there could even be more. There could even be more land that's hidden from us, for example.
Sure. But I think that's kind of
You could be right. Listen. You could be right, but until you have empirical proof of your claims, then we can talk.
He just told you there's proof. The government lied.
Where's the proof that there's?
Okay, I'll link you to the Gulf of Tonkin. I'll link you to the Gulf of Tonkin confirmed false flag by the U.S. Naval Institute. There's your first proof. You want 100 more, 1,000? How many do you want? We can't take up the
Give
whole
me
chain.
all the proof. Give me all the proof that you want. That you have.
Dude.
No, I'm being serious.
What
I'm being
did I
serious.
say?
Give me all the proof that you have.
Do you not know how to research yourself?
Yeah, but just because
I'm
they
not the
lied
one
about
that is
one
claiming
thing-
those claims. You claim.
All right, we'll
we'll
start. Okay, start with one thing and then ask for it. What do you want to know?
I already asked.
You said you want all the proof for everything. Just start with one thing. How about
No. I want her proof for her claims. She knows what did she claim.
No, I want you to clarify for her what she needs to prove.
The government lied to get us into the
Posted
Vietnam War that destroyed families, killed people, many people, caused huge unrest in our society. There it is. Truth about
proof
Tonkin.
of infinite resources and land. I want
please.
infinite
Okay,
resources.
let's go on to a new topic. That's ridiculous. Proof of infinite resources and land. The best you can do is show how it's very possible due to the pattern of deception and lies by our government that they're hiding resources. Proof of infinite resources and land. Yeah, that's a real good thing to ask for. That makes 0 sense.
Can I make a point? You don't have to prove any of this. The only thing that's happening here, the only discussion that's being had is that we're doubting the mainstream point of view that's being portrayed. So if you want to come in here and dissuade the conversation, what you should do is provide evidence to support your stance, which is allegedly that you support the mainstream view. So why don't you try to convince us of what that is? Give us proof that the oil is a finite resource.
Things doesn't work like this, okay? It doesn't.
It
work
does
like
actually, in
like
accordance
how
to
you-
logic.
No,
That's how it
I'm
works.
sorry. Oh, really?
sorry,
Logic
it
is
does.
based.
I'm really
So
tired of
your
this
logic
Zedman.
is you start,
Yeah,
you claim
it's
stuff with
kind of
no
a
proof.
toxic combo going on here.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm not gonna speak then.
Wait,
Move
can
on.
I make
Okay, yes,
can I make a
because
point about-
I don't even know if somebody said infinite. If someone did, like, people tend to exaggerate and use hyperbole, and then the person who wants to like shut down productive conversation might pounce on that hyperbole and demand for proof of it, which is just ridiculous. So hyperbole may have been used. Yeah. Does anyone want to talk about anything else like the Earth being flat?
No,
wait,
I mean,
I would like
but
to make a point about the thing that was talked about. Yeah, could I make the point? Okay, so we are saying that the people that control the fossil fuels and everything essentially only reveal the information to us that they want to, right?
Seems like it, kind of, in a very generalized way.
Of course, yes. Control and repression of information is a huge part of control. Yes, definitely, by all governments, especially oppressive ones like the world government today.
Okay, I partially agree with that. So, this goes back to the point about climate change. So, how much information would a fossil fuel oil industry reveal to us about what impact it has on the climate? What information would it say if the fossil fuel industry would reveal that because we use these fossil fuels and pump like carbon into the atmosphere, would they say, yeah, that's actually what's happening, we're destroying the fucking earth, we're destroying the climate? Or would they say,
You can't
it's
destroy
not
the
that.
Earth with carbon? Like plants.
It's not the
love
earth, but
carbon
the organic.
dioxide. You don't get it. It's like a good.
To a specific degree.
It's actually a really good question. It's actually a very, very good question, and it has to do with it comes back to economics. And the thing that people don't understand is a very simple way to illustrate this is the nature of diamonds, and the fact that the reality of diamonds, and the fact that diamonds are actually abundant, but in reality, what's happened, the reason why diamonds are so expensive is that there's
artificial scarcity.
Artificial scarcity, where there's a private corporation that actually is hoarding and controlling the diamond industry. So what they're doing is that they're gradually distributing it to all these different countries in very small amounts.
They also convinced everyone that you need a fucking diamond. Like, who needs a fucking diamond? Except for
right. So
if you're gonna get married.
That's the idea,
and
right?
I wonder who made that up. Guess who made that up?
Well, yeah, and
they created the
really
wedding
good question.
ring. The diamond industry created the wedding ring to sell diamonds.
Yeah, it's called marketing. So what you have is marketing, which is essentially public persuasion. It's essentially, if you want to use the kind of weird term, it's called mind control. But what it really is in terms of corporate terms is market persuasion or marketing. And so if you have marketing and you have controlled scarcity, now you have a very profitable business.
No, but that's a great point. I mean, the diamonds are a great point with this whole thing, because think about it. We've been convinced that we need to buy a fucking diamond for a girl and then they're going to marry us. Yeah. We don't need to do that. Like, that's literally in our fucking heads. There's no point to do that.
Well, you don't need to do a diamond. Maybe if
I
you're
knew
like
that shit before I heard about it.
You want to do the ring thing, but it's the same dynamic that's being propelled in the oil industry, where you have a group of people that operate the production of oil, the production of gases, and then you have a marketing angle, which is that, hey, this is a finite resource. The whole earth is going to suffer if you use too much of it, so you better not use too much, and that's why it's so valuable. That's why the price is so high.
They don't say that. The oil
industry. They do. It's literally.
Is it the oil industry that says? Is it the oil industry that says?
Yes,
of course, it's destroying the planet. Is it?
Yeah, that is what it is.
so they would like somewhat.
But it's not the oil industry saying this.
Well, they don't put their name on it the same way that the diamond industry don't put the name on the fact that diamonds are actually abundant. It's obvious.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's like the diamond industry saying use more fake diamonds that are produced in factories.
No,
because
this is what you failed to understand.
They might actually say that.
The price.
Yeah, they might say
if you raise the price. So if you want to make
I-
money, there's two ways to do it. You either sell it to way more people, or you raise the price for your enclosed system. So let's think of the West as an enclosed system. A lot of the West is subjected to the same amount of propaganda, the same type of propaganda. And if your market is the West, and you understand that, okay, our consumption, our demand is not going to go up. So how do we remain profitable? Well, let's push the price up. How do we push the price up? We make it like so that people will accept paying more for the oil. So we subsidize electric industries such as, you know, Tesla and this kind of thing, which is government subsidized, which in comparison pushes the oil price up. But you have this dilemma now happening where there are, you know, oil deposits that are actually being engaged and starting to produce more oil. And now you have this whole thing where people are starting to question what's happening.
Is there any other electrician that here in the chat?
Someone's joining and leaving.
By education, because I'm an electrician by education, and the funny thing is that the electricity ground potential is owned by government.
Right.
Wonder why.
Say that
Well,
again.
The ground potential of the electricity is owned by government.
How does that work? What do you mean by ground potential?
What?
There is a ground potential in the ground of the earth, and that is owned. So the government or the electricity companies are owning the ground. That makes it impossible to build your own. That makes it impossible to build your own electric facility or whatever you want to build.
Well, that sounds like, you know, the U.S. where it's illegal to collect rainwater, but you sound like you're from Europe. So can you
Yeah, I'm
explain
from
like the
Finland.
legal
I'm
situation?
from Finland. It's
Right.
owned by government and the electricity companies. So you cannot build your own electricity gathering machine or whatever you want.
Right,
Because
but
you
you are
don't own
actually
the
allowed
ground.
to own solar panels, right? So what's
Yeah,
the
solar
difference
panel,
there?
which are pretty expensive. But actually,
Yeah.
in Spain, if you take a solar energy, you have to pay a tax from it.
Wow.
Right.
So
Right.
they are owning the electricity as well, and we might just have free electricity from the air.
Sure.
Have you
But
ever
can you
have you
but
have
can
you
you
ever
explain
heard
what is
about
the
the have you ever
Go
heard
ahead, sorry.
about the spiders flying with electricity?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
static.
Okay, so there is
I
some
love it.
electricity in air. You can gather it with the Tesla device, but you
Right.
cannot
How
own
much?
the ground.
How much?
I don't know. If you build a big gathering device, you would have what you need. It
What's the
depends.
ether,
What
right?
I don't
Is
think
it the
that,
same
that
as the
that's
ether
enough.
or no?
No, it's not the ether. It's like static electricity in the atmosphere.
Uh-huh.
That a spider like they like shoot the wire out of their ass like a spider web thing, like just a single line, and then it can
Yeah, and
float
they
through
are
it
actually
through
using. They are claiming that they are using those same types of electricity gathering devices in satellites, whether you believe a satellite or not, but satellite balloons, they are dropping a wire from the satellite downwards to gather the electricity from the air. So
Yeah.
think about that. If we would have a free energy, electricity from the air, would this world be a little different?
Yeah.
Well, it
Yeah, of
depends
course.
on
I
if
mean,
it could.
a lot of the wars are based on the oil intensive areas because there's, you know, you have these clans that have engineers that have developed technologies to extract oil from the ground. But yeah, it's interesting that, you know, the patents because patents are real in like the corporate world, like at least in the West, like patents are a real thing and people act within the legal system. You can't just like act outside of, you know, this accepted legal system. But I want to ask you, like, what is this? You're talking about ground potential electricity. So can you explain what does that actually mean? Like, is there electricity in the ground?
In the
or what does that mean?
electricity, yeah, in the ground there's you can think about it as a 0 point or as a horizon of the electricity. When you go upwards, the electricity will rise.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't own the ground potential. Electricity is always about potential differences.
Okay,
Either it's
so let me ask you a real simple question. If you're just a regular citizen and you want to power your house from the ground, how do you do that? And how is this
you could
blocked
harvest
by the
the
government?
electricity from the air and use the ground as an one potential against those gatherings in the air. But because you cannot own the ground potential, you cannot use the electricity legally. You can do
Okay,
it
so
illegally if you want.
So you need some kind of device that. So is it? If I'm being super newbie here, asking stupid questions, but does it mean that you're essentially saying that, like you have a battery, it's like plus and minus, and that the plus is the sky and the minus is the ground?
Exactly. Yes.
But that the ground area is actually now owned by the government, so you can't use this. Which
Exactly.
means that effectively you cannot use this electricity because you need the ground element, the minus element. But this is now, blocked from public consumption essentially, so you can't utilize it.
Yeah, and that got my mind when I was 16 years old, learning to be an electrician. I didn't know anything about flat Earth or anything, but I was wondering why the heck the government is owning, or the electricity companies are owning, the ground potential. I didn't understand it then.
It's a really good question.
How would you harvest the ground potential? Like, wouldn't that be ridiculously easy without the government being able to detect it? To use the ground potential
yes, for a private, yes, yeah, you could harvest an energy from a river or from the waves of the ocean or from the sun, wherever. But if you do it in a one person or one family scale, it doesn't matter. It doesn't. They don't care about that. But if you build an electricity company harvesting electricity from the air, they might be interested.
Right. But do you think that the companies in Finland are actually using this technology, or do you think that they're just
Of course not.
we're just gonna
Nobody
go
is
with
using it. It's patented by the Tesla 100 years ago, and the patents are owned by the oil companies. So take that.
Right.
So
That's what I'm saying.
all the free energy patents are owned by the oil company, as far as I know.
Yeah, well, that's like, I mean, to take it one step further, not to get overly political here, but I know that Donald Trump is the president today, and the uncle of Donald Trump was actually the guy. He worked for the FBI, and he was a part of the group that confiscated the patents of Tesla's how do you say dead apartment. Like when Tesla died, there was a group of FBI agents who went there to confiscate his patents, and Donald Trump's uncle was one of those guys. That's why I'm like, it's very interesting, this situation we're in right now, because I think that people underestimate the amount of knowledge that Donald Trump has. And I'm not like praising Donald Trump or anything. I think he's very faulty in a lot of elements, but it is an interesting time, to be alive.
But imagine if you build that. Do you see the chat window? Radio Korsho just said the image there, a picture about the Tesla coil or whatever, the Tesla tower. Imagine that being built in your property. Would you think that the government might have something to say for you, that you are doing something you shouldn't do, and then maybe break down that? And in history, there have been, I have seen pictures, those towers have brought down.
Yeah,
illegal.
well, there was an interesting case, right? I remember, I didn't follow up on this, but there was like a case. I don't know if it was in Las Vegas or where it was, but there was some instance of this big Tesla tower being built. I don't know if it was like maybe I'm misremembering, but I remember it being like in Las
It's
Vegas.
in Russia,
and like,
I think. In Russia, there is one big Tesla tower built a
yeah,
couple of
but I
years
think
ago.
I think there was like, okay, maybe it was in Russia, maybe the text was wrong, but I remember that it was like in the US, and that it was like, oh yeah, you know, we just saw that they built this giant Tesla tower, and that they were gonna, you know, follow up on whether it was brought down. They were, you know, super conspiratorial, and they were thinking like, oh, is this like a 5G tower or something like that? But I forgot to follow up on that. But do you have any information on these? Like, what are the stories of these people who tried to build these kind of Tesla towers, and were they?
Hey, glad
brought
you
down in the end,
asked. Okay. I'm going to post a video. It just came out, I think, yesterday. It's a related topic, talks about ground electricity.
Hmm.
And it's
Let's
one
see
of the guys who replicated Tesla's technology, wireless electricity and whatnot. He specifically, I wouldn't say engineered, but like mapped out how to use telluric waves and ground propagation. So
Hmm. This is the YouTube video, water below, or no?
Eric Dollard. I recommend you look up all of his stuff. But this was
No.
the
So
most
what's your
recent.
username? So under which username did you post the video?
Bad Rigs. It's blue.
Ah, all right. Yeah. Got it.
Mm-hmm.
I just posted on one video about the Russian Tesla cover or Tesla copy or whatever harvesting machine. These are real, but we cannot build them unless we just don't tell that we are building these.
Yeah. So yeah, that's like an interesting thing, because I think I personally I'm you know, I'm in favor of Western society. I believe in law, and I believe that law based on morality is the true way to lead a society. But I think that a lot of Western society has been infiltrated by these you know, profit seeking, rent seeking interests that are
Wait
trying
a second.
to hoard.
You go to the government to look for morals?
No. So
So how does that work?
So you have moral as a baseline, and then you build the government based on the morals. That's my philosophy. But I acknowledge that in our reality, that's not what's happening. What we have a government that's being formed, and it's being very easily infiltrated by outside forces that are trying to manipulate the power structures. But what I wanted to say here was to completely bring the discussion off topic here, was that have you guys seen, you know, there are these videos online of these cathedrals where there are you know, because cathedrals are very like ground based, high level, like and a very primitive level. You can think of them as like a Tesla type architectural structure where, you know, it's ground based.
How does that connect to the flat Earth, if I may ask?
Yeah,
It's
it
been
does.
going
It
on
does.
for a
And
while.
then
So, what is the connection to the objective reality that we all share on this?
Well, you know
flat
that
plane?
question. Why would they lie? A lot of it would be resources and technology, free energy. So.
Right. And so my question is very simple. Like, I've seen this video of these cathedrals, and there are like allegations of the fact that these cathedrals are actually the reason why they rose so high. You know, they wanted to actually gather this type of electricity and somehow, you know, perpetrate it through the building and harness it in some way. But I don't know enough about electricity about it. But there are also like from Russian videos, these visual phenomena of like in the cathedral top, there are some light phenomena that are happening and stuff like that. So I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts about that?
I'm sorry, this is a sidetrack too, but it's related to the power and the hiding the truth of our Earth and our resources, but it's not about the flat Earth. So sorry to put you in the sidetrack.
It's all good.
Gotta keep it flat Earth, guys. We haven't been talking flat Earth for a while, so keep going flat Earth.
Well, this is where flat Earth philosophy leads, if I'm being honest.
Yeah,
we were talking about whether they hide resources, but Yeah, we can get back to the main point now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but are cathedrals
Maybe.
able to harness electrical energy or no? Am I totally off?
Check
Don't know.
Tartaria. Do you know Tartaria?
Yeah. It's
Okay,
it's related to that subject actually.
Yeah, they might have some electricity there. I don't know. They might have had
Right.
already before electricity was invented. So, or
Yeah,
or
as
even
we know
the
it.
ancient even the pyramids of Giza show
Yeah.
about things about electricity used in a lamp, and we could say
Right.
that there has been electricity used in 3,000 years ago freely, and we are now paying it 3,000 years after it. Is that about the power or control? Yes, it is.
You're making an assumption about a fucking hieroglyph, like some
No, it's not based on the
picture on a
hieroglyph. It's based
wall.
on architectural monuments that are still alive today. So it's not.
Yeah, and the
based on
Yeah,
hieroglyphs
but
are
it's the
civilization.
power source like shown. What's the power source to that? It's just two wires, one connected to the
He
ground,
just
one to the
explained
sky.
it to you. It's Tesla has already explained these phenomena. It's electrical engineering essentially.
Yeah, there were much more clever people 3,000 years ago than we are now. We are
Yeah.
much dumber. Our brain
Right.
is like 300 milligrams smaller than 5,000 years ago.
Right. Well, I
Our
would. I
brain
would.
capacity
I'm
is
not
pretty
3,000 years old, so I don't know. I don't have any
Yeah.
opinion on that
according
subject.
to
I
the
never weighed a brain from 3,000 years ago.
Yeah, what the fuck are
according
you
to the
Well,
scouts.
I mean, those are your
How do you
ancestors,
even
so
know
you
that?
can
but
deal
that's
with it
in
or you can't.
Where is that
gold,
written? Where are the measurements? Why wouldn't the civilization that much more intelligent to us be fucking extinguished and then re-evolutionize or whatever to a lesser state of intelligence to
Have you
evolve
heard
to what
about
we are right now?
history? Have you heard
You have to
about
do anything
history?
you don't have to do
Yeah.
anything genetically. You just have to control the populace of people by controlling the amount of information and the type of information that they get. Feed
What is
dumb
this
people down.
evolution? Evolution? Did you say evolution, Rusty P?
It's not
I mean,
evolution.
yeah, I'm sorry,
It's not relating to
maybe
evolution.
I just said it wrong. Why would the brain shrink in 300 milligrams 3,000 years
Is there
ago?
evidence that the brain shrunk?
He said someone
Wikipedia,
said
it's
it's
saying,
like
yeah, I said it because it's written in the Wikipedia.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, the brains
Lots
or
of
the
stuff written
skulls
there.
or the skulls were bigger before now.
Yeah.
We were wiser.
False.
We are now dumber. Every
but-
single generation is dumber than the previous one. Every
Is
single
that
one.
is that the online encyclopedia that anyone
Wikipedia.
can
Wikipedia.
edit? Is that the one?
Do you believe that your father is clever than you, or are you clever than your father?
I don't know where this is going to go.
I think
don't
We
my
are
think it's gonna go
father
very
has a
politically.
lot of life experience. I think he's probably a lot smarter than me, if I'm being honest.
But was
He's
he
a lot smarter.
smarter than his father? Or was he just a child? And he was younger, just like you are now, trying to compare yourself to your
probably
father.
more a question about experience.
Well, yeah, I'm not trying to engage in sophistry here, but I think that they had knowledge about different things. So my grandfather had a lot of knowledge about fishing. My father had a lot of knowledge about journalism. I have a lot of knowledge about this other thing. So these are
And they
concepts that
all
didn't
lived
even exist
happily
in their
on
own.
a flat earth.
Hey,
True.
that's very true. They did.
I
Or
brought it
evolution.
right
That's
back
also
to
acceptable.
flat
Someone
earth.
can bring up
Bring
the
it back,
evolution
bring it back.
topic, so we have something to punch on.
It's a devolution.
Who doesn't
We are
believe in
going
evolution?
backwards. We are going backwards. Our gene is going worse. The diseases are increasing. We are going backwards. It's not
You know,
evolution.
2,000 years
Are you
ago, there
serious?
weren't 7 billion people on the planet. How
We're
can
going
you say we're
It's
going
so backwards. How are these
We're going
Yeah, there
diseases
are
backwards.
more,
getting
there are
worse?
more people
We're
nowadays
going
than
backwards because nothing in reality is truthful. So we're basing all of our foundational knowledge on lies.
I
Of
think
course we
it's a
get down wrong.
definitional. I think it's a definitional issue here. Like you're talking about going backwards. For one person, it means one thing. For the other one, it means one thing. So, if you're describing that,
I'm talking about
humanity's-
biologically.
Yeah, what
Our-
Jedi
our
was
day-
saying, it doesn't have to do with biology. It has to do with the fact that we're living under this oppressive world government that lies to us about virtually everything, or at least all of the important things. So it's an imposed ignorance. We're not being allowed to reach our full potential.
Yeah, but
Well,
I
what-
mean,
what
you
you
said
said-
yourself that if you didn't go through these struggles, you wouldn't have arrived to this very immaculate, like very profound level of knowledge and wisdom that you are today.
I don't
So-
remember saying that.
Well, you did. You said that you went through these struggles, and then that allowed you to learn about these truths. And I think that's how this works. It's like that's just my personal philosophy. Is
Oh,
that
let's
you-
just
you go
applaud
through-
then. Great, we are oppressed. Woohoo!
No, of course not. You should keep on battling it like your predecessors did, and by battling it, you're constantly learning new things. But to assume that your predecessors were ultimately like lesser wise than you in their own context, in their own reality, maybe they were fighting the same battle at the same level that you're doing now. It's just that.
Yeah, I'm
now,
not a good
like,
example. I'm not a good example. You cannot use me and extrapolate, or any person in here, flat earther or other person who's partially woken up to the great deception. That's not a good example, because most people are not getting stronger from this. They're getting weaker, they're getting dumber, they're getting more in a trance, they're less developing their own personal power because they're giving it all away to the government. You can't extrapolate.
I'm talking about you. I'm talking about you. I'm not
Okay,
talking
that's
about
fine. Okay,
you,
so-
your surroundings. I'm talking about you yourself. So the question is about how do you attribute your own life and your own wisdom to your predecessors and your fathers and your grandfathers and your forefathers and so on. And that's the question. I'm not talking about the surrounding. We all know there are NPCs and people who are completely unaware of what's going on, and we're not talking about those. We're talking about you. And I'm saying, for me, I think that there's like a gradual like elevation of knowledge where you have these people that are curious about reality, and you kind of like inherit that. And if you're taught how to question reality, then eventually you end up being like given this certain type of wisdom, and we should be grateful for it. We shouldn't just like discard it and disregard it. That's just what I'm saying.
Yeah, we should be grateful that we realize that the earth is measured flat, and we should try to reach as many people as we can who are open to actually looking at the facts and examining the knowledge. I agree.
Yeah, and we should be grateful to the people that came before us that allowed us to get to this level of knowledge, so we don't have to live in ignorance.
Could you all agree that our DNA is weakening with every generation? So every time we are building a new generation, our DNA is weakening. Can you agree that?
I don't think we get our programming from our DNA.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say no to that. I'm gonna say no. I think our DNA is getting stronger. It depends, of course, on your environmental circumstances. It depends on your.
You guys, what do you guys mean by DNA gets stronger, though? Like,
according to
explain
the
that.
biological evidence, the DNA is losing information in every generation. So it's not gaining anything. We are losing information.
What kind of information are we losing?
All what we are built of, everything,
Well-
our muscles, our brains, our everything, our breathing, our whatever is in us is getting weaker every generation. That is a biological
I think we just
observation.
adapt.
What is this based on, dude? I
A
don't
biological
agree with that.
observation.
What observation?
Yes.
People are living longer. They're living healthier lives. Standards of living are
No.
better globally.
Well, I would say
What observations?
male virility's gone down. but that's not-
Observation about the errors
What do
in the
you mean by
DNA
male
code.
virility? Is it men are becoming more impotent, or more
Yeah,
men?
exactly.
Okay, maybe.
That's measurable. So for me, it's like if I'm going to engage in a conversation, it has to be measurable.
Yeah. I just wanted to point out that we are dumber than our ancestors. We just think
Well,
we.
I would
I don't
honestly
know.
be
I
careful
don't know
about.
about that.
I would suggest being careful about using the term
Yeah.
we, because I think that yeah, there are a large portion of people that are, struggling. They are living in ignorance. They do not realize the truth, and they do fall for a lot of simple deceptions. But at the same time, I think that at the end of the day, all you can do is focus on your own experience. And you have to acknowledge that for you to arrive at this level of wisdom and knowledge, like you're able to perceive these deceptions that are happening, like you have to give some gratitude to the people who came before you. You cannot just say that everything before me was nonsense and everything is deteriorating, because clearly you personally, if you've come to this place where you're able to perceive these deceptions, you've come to a place where you are able to see those deceptions, and that requires some level of wisdom. And yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, how do you not attribute the people who gave life to you? How do you not give those guys, some credit? I think that's what we should do. We should give those guys some credit, even if they were ignorant themselves. They gave us the life that we have.
Right.
So what do you mean? Wait. What do you mean ignorant? Was Newton ignorant? Was he like an idiot?
He was working on a presupposition that the Earth was already a ball, space already exists, and he needed a mechanism to make lights in the sky go around. And he kind of said it was because shit goes down. There's your force. The floor is pulling things around. Therefore, it can also make things orbit. So he wasn't stupid. He was just working with inside a model.
Fair.
Yeah.
That
he
I
was
can live
projecting
with.
quite heavily.
Yeah,
and
but
I mean,
to call him ignorant, I don't know, man. I don't think any of us here were smarter than Sir Isaac Newton. But
So
yes,
everyone always knew. Everyone always knew the Earth was flat. People who made discoveries were just fucking delusioned and didn't know what the fuck they were talking about, making assumptions and didn't know anything at all, and were just lying to everyone.
Right.
You're talking about the globe, yeah.
Okay.
No, we're not. We're not talking about the globe.
Yeah, my only question is right. My only question is, all of these people that lived so long ago that apparently knew the Earth was flat, like what observations or measurements or calculations did they do to confirm this?
The same ones
it's called natural science. It's actually
was
very
just
simple.
Give me an example of one, Gio.
Do you know the
observation?
Do you know Antikythera?
No, teach me.
Okay, research Antikythera.
No, tell me about it.
That is an ancient
I'm
clock.
gonna believe you.
The Antikythera machine?
All right. Outside,
Yeah.
are you asking for an ancient experiment that all these ancient cosmologies can reference, saying that the Earth was flat?
Yes.
Right. Yeah, I don't know of any. I just think it's based on observation and the way that the Earth appears. It appears to be flat. It appears to be stationary. That was their cosmology.
Yeah, it's the basis of how we conduct our life. That's the reality of the situation. It's just
If you base the reality on simply observations, you're fucking wrong.
Well, then why would you paint grass as green on a painting? Would you classify that as wrong?
In that case, it's an observation that you can
No,
say.
in that case,
green,
it applies to the
but-
same principles and the same premises that you just presented. So if you were to go to an art gallery and you see, oh, this 17th century artist just painted grass as green, and then you would basically, by your own logical conclusion, what you would have to do would be that you would have to go up to this artist and confront him with the question that you just asked us, and you would have to ask him, why are you painting grass as green? Because this is your own observation, and why are you trusting that? And
So
you
you
would be
could go-
upset with him about that.
Sure.
And do you
So you could go.
understand how unreasonable that is?
Okay, so you got to go further down, and let's say the artist based his painting on an observation of grass. Could could you say that the painting that he used was exactly the grass that he was looking at? The same color, the exact same color. It's not green. It's like some.
It's called hyperrealism.
Yeah, like super hyperrealism, where the color is exactly the same. I mean, the same observation.
Hyperrealism is again a hypothetical term. What we're dealing with is a shared reality. It's not some hypothetical scenario. It's a real phenomena that we can share together, that we can acknowledge together.
Yes.
It's not some
But
mathematical hypothetical.
Yeah, sure. But if you stand on a beach and look out onto the horizon, do you think that you see a flat plane, or maybe you think, maybe my eyesight is not accurate enough to detect anything else than a flat plane?
Well, when you stand in the forest, in the garden, and you see that the grass, you observe the grass, and you think in your mind, you use your own brain, you use your own mind, and you try to think to yourself, you try your own hardest. You know, you have to try really hard, and you have to try to ask yourself, you know, you go into this deep state, and you ask yourself, what color is this? And, you know, for you, of course, you have to think of this very deeply, and you have to go through a lot of philosophical thought, and then eventually you have to ask yourself the question, which color is this? And you have to, you know, then maybe you take another 1 or 2 hours, you know, you're staring at it, you're just standing at the lawn staring at it.
I know what you're getting to. Yeah.
And then the question is, which answer do you arrive at? When you come to the point where you ask yourself, which color is this grass? And then what is the answer that appears in your mind? What is it? What's the answer?
This is not the same color.
What?
Well, I'm still talking about
It's not the same color.
No, the question is, you're looking at grass.
Yeah, I'm
in
looking
your
at
own
grass.
yard.
What color is it? I'm saying it's not the same color.
And that's why we disregard your arguments, because your logic is so flawed and you're so deceived that we don't even care about your opinions.
Ah, all right. So you're looking at grass and you say it's the same color.
Because that's postmodernism. What you're dealing with is postmodernism. Okay. This is what has been explored by Picasso and all of these great artists before you, hundreds of years before you. They've already dealt with these
relates
issues.
to the flat Earth, which is objectively
So you only have like 12 colors.
It
doesn't.
But they're going to literally keep talking and just ignore everybody and carry on doing their own topics, which are nothing.
Yeah, guys. Yeah, there's
very
other
slightly.
There's other rooms if you want to go into like, you know, that kind of stuff. There's like, it just sort of sounds like philosophical circles right now, which is fine. But there's a lot
I have
of
no interest in engaging with this person. That's what I'm
that's
trying
the
to say.
second time, though, that someone is telling you this. I remember the first time I told you that you could, you know, go on and waffle in one of the side rooms that are not on the live stream. Because you were waffling back then, right? And I've asked you repeatedly to connect this to the flat Earth, and you haven't. You just say, okay, right, and you keep on waffling.
Who are you talking to?
I am talking to Skygazer.
Yeah, well, how does observable reality, how does that not tie into flat Earth? Because that's what we're discussing here.
Yeah, he's talking about seeing no curve.
Yeah, you're talking about hyperrealism and paintings.
No, it's called
can you
observable
please connect
reality.
that somehow with a concise sentence and some logical arguments?
Yeah,
to the
it's called
topic of
observable
discussion?
reality.
I
That's
mean,
how
I
we
can see that
acknowledge
it's
the
a
flat
stupid
Earth.
connection.
Yeah, okay.
Cool. So going back to ancient cultures, and the question was asked about experiment to prove that the Earth was flat. It was just observable reality. That is the point. They didn't see anything else because there was nothing else to see. There was no movement as well, right? So the Earth appeared flat and it wasn't moving. The evidence started to build up, or anecdotal stories from the past of people presupposing that if the Earth was a ball, these things would happen, or we would observe or explain these phenomena this way. So that's the way that we went. Ancient cosmologies didn't have proof. It was just observable reality. There wasn't anything else to compare it to, especially a ball that spun. Why would they think that? Why
I
would
have one
anybody
question.
think? Sorry,
one
why would
question.
anybody think that they were on a ball that spun? You, me, anybody else, your observable, independent observations of reality. Why would you think you're on a ball that spins?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, if you say about the people that lived in the past that observe the world, that simply observing the world with their eyes, with their initial senses, without thinking about it, then I think you can't draw an accurate conclusion about what the shape of the Earth is. You can't determine it by simply viewing it, even on your model, on the flat Earth model.
Yeah, but the question was asked about that, and I was honest when I said I don't know of any ancient experiments that prove the Earth to be flat. I don't know of any. But are there any experiments that prove the Earth to be flat now? Yeah. There definitely isn't any experiments that prove the Earth to be a ball.
There are so many experiments that you can
to observe and measure a ball.
Right. I mean, every experiment that is taken, you can see it in some sort of different way based on how biased you are.
Yeah, absolutely. And every single argument for a ball will start with a presupposition that you're on a ball to begin with. So that's bias.
Well, it's the same thing if you look at if you look at the experiment when you think the Earth is flat. It's the same exact thing. This is completely hypocritical.
Well, one thing I would say is that what we observe in reality is, things level out, like water levels out. A tree will only stand if it has the roots and the, everything it needs to be standing upwards and so on. So we live in this reality. Up is up, down is down. Everything seems to, move in the medium, or kind of layer in the medium. Meaning if you throw something up, it's going to be higher in the medium. Something below the earth is lower than the medium. So this is what we live within. And we all know the basic forces, like using natural science. If you throw something, we know how that works and so on. And so from those basic natural science principles, the earth is a plane because water always finds its flat, level. Most of the earth is water and so on. The thing about the globe idea is what you have to do is basically bring in essentially this magical force of gravity, which, if you want to say we're spinning on a ball, well, now all of a sudden you have to bring in this incredibly magical force, meaning that this force, like when you think about it's one thing to say, oh, gravity, things drop, things fall, that's fine. You want to say it pulls the middle of the earth. But when you really think about it, that force also has to be keeping every single tree, every single, everything on the earth. It has to be perfectly keeping it to where it appears as though the earth is completely stationary and flat, but actually it's whirling and spinning, at all these speeds. Meaning if you went to an ancient person, you said, well, actually you're on a ball and this whole thing is spinning at all these speeds. You then have to say, they would say, well, what do you mean? Everything would fly off of it. We know that everything falls off of a ball. And then you would have to say, no, there's this force, this really, really incredibly magical force. And then it gets into where's the proof for that? So if you don't have proof for it, then essentially it's just literally a fantasy of coming up with a force to come up with a model. And that's the difference between natural science and theoretical or fantasy-based or pseudo-scientifically based ideas.
I mean, can I answer to your point? That's why when we send spacecraft, we try to send spacecraft near the equator, because the angular speed is much higher, which can lead us to use less fuel to send a rocket to the space. That's how science works, and gravity does exist.
Well, that's an interesting story.
That you shouldn't bring up space travel.
When you say we, who are you talking about when you say we? Because whatever you just said right there, what you just said is pseudoscientifically derived, meaning you can't verify that. It's an interesting story if it's true from those scientists, then. But I'm just saying what you just said right there is literally pseudoscience because you don't have a way to verify that. It's an interesting story, but it isn't actually science.
Which part of your statement of fact, according to you, would you like us to pick on? I heard you mention a few things. Science was mentioned, or something. Gravity was mentioned. So, which part of your statement would you like us to address and tell you why you're wrong? My
Are you
guy.
asking me?
Yes.
Well, what do you think gravity doesn't exist?
Well, have you got any scientific demonstration of it? Proof?
I don't have an experiment that we can manipulate gravity, but I have an observation that we
Right.
can deduct from that there is gravity.
Okay, so what's your observation?
Well, I didn't do the experiment by myself, of course. I admit that beforehand, before we start. But what they did is they experiment with the lunar eclipse. They can see stars behind the sun that we should not be able to see. But since the sun is so heavy, it can curve the space around it, which also curve the path that the light takes
Okay.
into us.
Right. So
Yes,
you're referring to a solar eclipse experiment with regards to Einstein's theory of the bending of light around large objects. This observation is entirely based in 1915 or 1919, just after the Second World War. So 1919, this was done. It's interesting
Yes.
to remark. It's interesting to remark, incidentally, on the conclusions other people came after this not experiment observation took place, because they made calculations based upon a presupposition and asserted that any and all phenomena were these presuppositional predictions. They weren't. This was clarified in later years. So, no, this isn't an observation of things being bent round the sun so we can see them because the sun is so big and bending and warping space-time.
Jedi.
It's not the
Yeah.
explanation.
I mean, like,
Hang on, Jedi. That was awesome, but this guy has actually been put in Cogdiff.
Oh, is he gone now?
Zetman, no, he's still talking, which is strange.
Okay. Fair enough. Weird.
Boom. He gone though.
Yeah, no, he wound Becky up in the chat and was given 30 minutes to cool down. But because he was already in the room, he didn't get booted and
Fair enough.
thought he could get around it.
Can I have one question about air pressure?
Yeah.
Okay, when we are moving around the sun, and is the air pressure changing towards where we are moving, 100,000 miles an hour or whatever?
66,000 miles an hour in a direction. So is the air pressure felt in that angle of direction?
Yeah. So is the air pressure more? Is there more air pressure in the direction where we are going, or not?
Not really, because you're in a different. You're in the frame of reference of the Earth itself.
But imagine a million of molecules of air pressing each other in a 66,000 miles per hour, and then going in opposite direction in a 12 hours. Should that change the air pressure or not?
No, there's not something to press against.
The air itself, the molecules of air pressing against each other.
Exactly.
No, it's
Air,
not,
when air molecules,
pressing because there's
that
no
is a press.
acceleration. No, there's
That
no
is a press.
acceleration.
When air molecules press against each other, they are being moved by a force. What is pressure? What is the formula for pressure?
I don't know the formula.
It's force over area. It's force being applied to an area. So when you bang air molecules into each other, it causes a pressure. If I punch you or you hit me, it causes a pressure.
Mm-hmm.
They don't necessarily need to hit a container, but they need to hit a container if you want to measure the pressure. But the pressure is already there when the molecules bump into each other.
Yeah,
For
but
example,
is there an acceleration when you punch me? Yes, there's an acceleration. Is there an acceleration when the planet moves around the sun? Not really, no. It isn't.
I wasn't talking about that. I was talking about the change during the 12 hours.
The change?
Your ball is rotating 24 hours per one rotation. And in 12 hours, you are facing different direction, which is going 66,000 miles in one direction, and it changes in 12 hours, should the air pressure change according to that? Because the air itself is pressing each other molecule to get more air pressure in the direction where the ball is going.
What?
Well,
Wow.
probably because of the temperature change and maybe solar radiation, which is mostly deflected by the magnetosphere.
Okay, you don't understand. When you have a molecule and millions of molecules bang each other in one direction, and then you change the direction into the opposite in 66,000 miles per hour, does it change the pressure between the molecules? What is the science in there?
What do you mean they bang each other in one direction and
They
then
get pressure from the movement of
Because there's like one side which is like in the Earth side moving towards the sun.
not
and
towards
like,
the sun, it's moving around the sun.
Okay,
Yeah,
listen,
sure, but
listen.
I mean,
The
in that
Earth
case, it wouldn't make any
spinning and
sense.
moving isn't what causes air pressure. It's not what causes the pressure, though.
Yeah, but should it cause? If the
No, it
Earth would be
shouldn't.
moving, if the
Even
Earth
if the
would
Earth
be,
was, even if the Earth wasn't moving, there would still be air pressure.
yeah, but
Why?
would there be
Why?
a change of air pressure if the molecules are pressed each other in different direction? Do you understand what I'm questioning here?
Why would there be a change if
Right,
they're
what's the
hitting each other in
definition of
different
air pressure?
directions?
Let's answer that one, see if we all understand what the
That's
definition
an
of air pressure
entropy.
is.
That's a. How many things are in one container? If you increase the amount of things in container, the pressure will increase.
Yeah, exactly. So you understand that, mate, yeah?
Yeah, okay. When you move something 66 miles per hour and you change that movement in the opposite, should there be a change? You have millions of molecules lined up with that movement. Should they be pressing each other? Think in a molecule level.
Well, would some of them be destroyed, or if you suddenly flip if you suddenly switch it around, would some of them be eliminated, or?
I just don't understand what he means by they're hitting each other in one direction and then the
Okay,
direction changes.
imagine now 1 million molecules going in one direction and change
Okay.
that direction in opposite. What
So they're
happens?
all going. Okay, so all the molecules are going west, and then they all suddenly start going east.
Yes, exactly.
They're all moving in the same direction, so they're not hitting each other. They're just moving in one
Earth
direction.
is spinning.
Yes, yes,
12
yes. But are the
hours.
molecules hitting each other if they're all moving in the same direction? When will they hit each other?
When they change the direction.
So when they change the direction, they'll all hit each other at one time, and then
No.
all start moving in.
No,
How?
slowly. The Earth is not spinning in one time, it's spinning slowly according to
Yes.
the molecule level.
Yeah,
The Earth is.
and I guess
okay,
your view is that everything
That's not-
moves is
That's not
still,
spinning slowly.
then everything suddenly moves spinning.
Earth's not spinning slowly. It's faster than the speed of sound around the equator.
Bro, it's
24,901.
relative. It's
No,
relative.
hold on. Let me finish my fucking point. It's 24,901 miles. It takes the Earth 24 hours to traverse this distance, and it's over 1,000 miles an hour to accomplish it within 24 hours. It's a vast distance, 24,000 odd miles, and 1,000 miles an hour is fucking fast. It's faster than the speed of sound.
Yeah, again, I'm
Yeah, but
just,
the
I'm just,
speed
play,
of
I'm just
sound
playing the
move
game here.
with
You know, I'm saying that like it's relative. Yeah, if you're a fucking molecule, if you're on a molecular level, you're able to say that no, this this speed is all good. I don't feel too bad about it. But if you're a human, you're gonna say, dude, this is too insane for me. I'm not able to comprehend of this speed up. I can't even experience it on my own experiential
though.
plane. But that's the idea here. It's all hypothetical mathematics. You're talking about molecular movements, and that
I'm
on a
talking about the
molecular
spin of the
level.
fucking Earth. I'm not talking about the.
Yeah, you are talking about the spin of the Earth, and
Mm.
the fact is that that's relative. If you're a molecule, or if you're a human perceiving mind, or if you're a blue whale, you're gonna perceive it differently, right?
We have a
Oh,
new
no.
person here,
What?
Murad. He did have some questions about how the sun moves on a flat Earth. Did you still have a question about that, Murad? Maybe he's not there anymore.
I don't know.
Well, anyway, he had several questions. He's like still trying to figure things out. So if he comes back, hopefully someone can talk to him.
Yeah, I think we lost the train of thought where we were previously discussing about Antarctica, the nature of Antarctica. Why are they actually hiding this lie?
Yeah,
A lot of people
but
in this
dude,
chat have acknowledged the fact that the globe is a fraud. But then we get into the deeper questions of why are they doing this? I think that's where the interesting stuff happens. And I think
yeah,
a lot of
but
the time
the
we get
reason
caught
that is
up in
interesting is
like
because we can
the factual
speculate. We
aspects of
don't
it.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the only reason that's interesting is because we can speculate and fantasize. I think arguments like that are very entertaining, but not much
Right.
gets done having them.
Right. But I
Because
think we
none of us are
can
going to go to
actually,
Antarctica to find out the truth.
well, yeah, I agree with that. If we're talking about geographical regions, we are limited by our own physical being. But when it comes to, let's think about why they're portraying this as a reality. This is something we can utilize our own rational mind for, and we can use that as our tool. We're no longer trapped by geographical experience. I.e., going to Antarctica, what is Antarctica? What is the North Pole? But if we're asking ourselves, why are they perpetrating this myth? I think maybe we can arrive at some level of higher understanding of what's going on. So that's what I want to ask you guys: is why do you guys think they're pushing this agenda so hard, like this space narrative, this globe narrative? Maybe if we start there, what do you guys think? Why are they pushing it? Why are they pushing the globe? Why are they pushing space?
Because it gives you another creation story.
Okay. I think it's because they believe it's true, but yeah.
And it keeps us confined in the space provided on the ball. So you can go round and round and round and round the ball, but that's all you can do. There's nothing else out there, nothing else to see.
Do you want to go to space, Becky?
People like Elon Musk want to populate Mars and so forth.
No. I said that
But,
yesterday. If someone invited me or gave me a ticket on a space shuttle, the only way I'd be getting on there is if I was handcuffed and forced onto it. Because I don't believe I'd be going to space. I believe that I'd be
right. Well, the interesting thing there is like my
Damn,
my
dude,
my
dude,
personal.
she's not finished talking though.
That's
Yeah,
right.
I
Go
didn't
on,
mean
buddy.
to interrupt. Yeah,
Okay.
I
He's
don't know
excited.
why some people like feel like interjecting as this white knight and saying like, well, you gotta.
All right, cool.
But
I'm gonna
Because
interrupt
you're
you as well,
incredibly
dude.
rude and you never
Damn.
stop talking and you think you have to say everything in your head and you think every question is addressed to you. That might be why. It's not white knighting. It's called reminding you of the rules of civility.
No, I think it's rude to
Thank you,
portray
Mary.
someone that like, what don't you
Move
know
on.
Yeah,
Right.
let's move
Anyway,
on.
my point is that if I was invited to like, oh, you can go on a spaceship, my immediate suspicion would be that like they're probably gonna drug you. They're probably gonna send you on some zero-G plane.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust them.
Really?
Yawn.
Well, we know that they would
a good
have to give us.
explosion or two will take care of that as well.
Yeah, but they know.
A la
We all know that
Challenger.
they would. They all know that we would. They would claim to give us inoculations before we got onto the shuttle, before we left, and all that sort of crap. I just don't trust them. I'm sorry. I really don't believe there's any such thing as outer space.
All right. So let me ask this. So there is no way at all, like to convince you of the globe Earth. So there is literally no way.
Yeah, yeah.
There's even if you're put into a space shuttle and you're blown into
We're
space,
getting quite
and
extreme.
you're looking to it, you would still
hold on.
think the Earth is
Hold
flat.
on.
Like
No,
that's
no,
exactly what I heard right now.
If you were to put any of us into a space rocket shot, if you put any of us into a space rocket and go to space, and then we turned around and saw the ball everyone was talking about, then obviously we wouldn't deny this fucking obvious fact of reality that I've gone to space and seen a ball. However, you can't go to space. You can't verify anything they tell you about space and the pictures they take from it or images that they give. So it's unverifiable to us. But yeah, hypothetically, if you're going to take us to a place that could prove your story, hypothetically, you could prove your story, right?
Sure.
No, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't.
The hypothetical goes both ways, bro.
I'm pretty sure you would still not believe it.
So you're talking
Yeah,
about
just like
how global.
just like we're pretty sure you wouldn't believe if you went up there and saw it was flat.
I would believe it in that case. 100%.
Okay, then quit being a disingenuous prick and thinking that we wouldn't.
I mean, this is a conspiracy theory.
If I went up to high altitude and I saw the Earth as a globe, I would be like, "Huh, that's strange. The Earth is flat when I'm down on the Earth, but when I went up in high altitude, it turned into a ball because down on the Earth, it's not a ball." So there must be some virtual reality. It's like there must be like a simulation virtual reality at that point because it wouldn't even correlate with what.
Yeah,
what we
because
actually
you're
live on here.
dishonest.
Same with dishonest. Have you even addressed the main evidence and points for the Earth being flat, the observations and the measurements of such?
Hang on.
No, I'm not talking about measurements. I'm just saying.
Oh, okay.
Even if I have a blank mind, I don't know what's the Earth shaped. Okay.
It appears to be flat and it's not moving. So
No. Let me just talk. Okay. I'm going on a. I'm looking out. I'm looking out at the ocean, I guess, and I see it looks flat. But can I draw the conclusion from that the entire Earth is flat?
No, but the model that they give us is incorrect and needs in the garbage, and it's measured
It's not
wrong.
about
All of it is
what-
wrong.
Yes, testing,
Yes,
1,
it's
2,
all wrong.
3.
It's measured wrong.
Yes, Reckoner, we can hear you.
Measured wrong.
Sure. Thank you, Becky. It's very polite. So just wanted to say,
yeah, I can hear you.
I
but
just want to make my point about you guys are saying the Earth is a prison and it keep you here and with the globe and it's sort of a mind trap and so forth. But I was making the point that Elon Musk and NASA and all these sorts of things, they want to go populate other places. They want to go to the moon. They want to go to Mars, so on and so forth. So it's really your model that makes it a prison and the globe model that makes it a frontier. That's all I wanted to say. And you said you wouldn't
That
go
doesn't
anywhere.
exist.
So it's your own prison.
Reckon are you from Austria? Reckon are you from Austria?
Tell you stories from a place that doesn't exist.
Yes.
Tell you that you can go sometime in the future with technology to a place that doesn't exist. Tell you with time and technology that we will be able to go and colonate these lights in the sky, Mars, Jupiter, maybe a few exoplanets in a few thousand years when we've got the technology, right? But yeah, it is a trap because it's all fucking bullshit. None of it exists.
But it's not the point. The point is you
It's
said
not the point.
traps you. And I'm telling you the
It's a
model does not
psychological
trap
trap.
you, and they want to go
You're believing in things that don't exist. How's that real?
Isn't the entire thing about isn't a lot of it about religion? But about believing
No,
in
the Earth
God
being
and stuff?
flat is an observation and measurement. Got fuck all to
Sure.
do with religion.
No, but I heard that most flat earthers are religious. So it's about
I'm not.
things that don't
Speaking
exist.
to one now that isn't.
Hang on. Now, who and where did you hear that? Because that's bollocks. Okay.
No, it's
all
just-
flat
no,
earthers. No, all flat earthers here. We all agree that the Earth measures flat. As far as beliefs and religions go, they are vast and varied. Where did you hear that nonsense?
No, it's not. I hear about the nonsense. I just say that the most flat earthers that I talk to are religious and think that's
About the flat Earth, or about their religion?
simply
About a
religious.
creator.
Even if
I think more
100%,
about, like,
even if
Lemon
100% of flat earthers were religious, doesn't matter. To draw the conclusion that there are flat earthers because of religious reasons isn't accurate. It doesn't follow of a necessity. You have to parse it out. You will find that the most people that believe in the flat earth believe so based on evidentiary reasons, not on anything to do with religious scripture.
Sure, I didn't say that. I said that most flat earthers that I met or that I talked to are religious.
Really?
Okay.
That's so interesting.
that's-
I don't have the same
Yeah, listen, hold
experience as
on.
you.
Hold on. You're being
You
disingenuous.
are religious, right? But
You weren't just making an observation, you were making an insinuation. Now own up to it like a man.
Yeah, and that's why
Yeah,
I can
I
tell you,
made
buddy. I
Yeah,
am a Christian. That's why I can tell you there is not a great deal of religious people here. There's only a small group of us that are actually like practicing Christians that actually get together
Yes,
and talk
okay.
about the word of God. So, I mean, if you looked at that compared to people that believed in the globe, I don't think it would be much different. I mean, there's tons of people out there that believe in the globe that are religious also.
maybe I said it wrong. I mean,
Listen, the
for me,
majority of
religion-
people on
for-
Earth believe in the globe, and the majority of people on Earth are ascribed to a religion.
Yeah, I mean, people that believe.
Yeah,
in
so the
in a
majority of globers
creator.
are religious.
Yeah, globers are the ones who are believing things without evidence, such as that we live on a spinning ball covered by water, even though water always lies flat. That's a
What?
religion.
What?
Well,
That's
the
another-
majority of it wouldn't matter anyway. The premise he's trying to insinuate that the flat Earth concept is basically from religion.
No,
And he's
I'm
not
not
man
saying
enough
that.
to own up to it.
I
Yes,
no,
you are.
don't no.
You clearly
I
said that from the beginning.
I said that most people that I met that believe that the flat Earth is the truth are religious. That's what I said. I'm not saying that everyone that is religious or that the flat Earth movement is religious.
Do you have a causality between those observations?
Yeah, what are you trying to draw from all of this? From them being religious?
Is it a correlation or a causation? Which one? Pick one.
I just
He's trying to draw an insinuation.
I just
Okay,
made
based
an
on the reasoning
observation.
capabilities of the people that believe in the flat Earth.
No, I just made an
Foregoing the fact
observation.
that the majority of people that believe in the globe are indeed religious themselves, because the majority of people on Earth believe in the globe, and it's also true that the majority of people on Earth ascribe to a religion. So to
For
say that
sure,
most
yeah,
flat
okay.
earthers are religious is really a non-statement.
Yeah, man,
Okay,
that's pretty
I was just-
lame and fallacious reasoning. Just give it up already. Just admit that you made a bad statement that had nothing to do with anything. Go on.
Okay, yeah. Yes, I
Okay,
made
yeah.
a
Just say
bad-
yeah. That's what I did.
Yeah,
Say it.
I
It's
guess I made a
simple.
bad
If you're going to be here in a debate of ideas, you're going to have to learn how to concede, my friend.
I guess I got on. Okay, can I answer?
I don't know.
rebut
Can you
that?
go for it? Go for it.
Yeah, sure. I guess I made the observation that most people are religious that are flat earthers. Sorry? Maybe you are
If we
not
look at
religious. Maybe you
just-
are. I'm
if
just
we look at
saying
the
that
people-
a lot of flat
on the
base
Can I
their
just
flat
say,
earth.
if we look at the people, listen, dude, if we look at the flat earthers in this room right now, you'll probably find that there are more non-believing, non-religious flat earthers in this room right now than there are religious believers. I can see maybe 3 or 4 people that believe here right now and others that I'm not sure that they do. So I don't know where you're getting your facts from.
No, I mean, if I can explain, every flat earther that I talked to was religious. I haven't seen an atheist yet that was a flat earther.
Okay, great. And so what? Okay, great. Your next point?
I mean, it doesn't matter.
How does this play into fucking anything at all, dude? We want direct measurement of curve. I don't care what you think about what people are in the movement and what they believe, dude. This is all irrelevant. Give me proof of your ball. I don't care how many people believe what, okay?
Sure. I get it. Yeah. All right. I mean, I understand. I mean, I guess we could like deviate from religion. That's That's
Yeah,
just
the
what that's just what
observatory,
I
I believe,
believe.
was
That's just what I
X
perceive. A lot of
amount
people
of
I talk
A, B, or C.
that
Wow, good for you. Okay, great. Let's
no,
move on to the
it's,
proof
no,
of the
no, no,
small
no.
Earth.
It was just that a lot of people that I talked to about flat Earth, where did have this, or backed their belief up by religious thought.
Great.
Do you get
Good
that?
for them.
That doesn't mean
Good
anything.
for them.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
not say
Great.
that.
I mean,
Let's just move on,
okay.
Rusty.
Well,
Rusty,
if it
don't
doesn't
call
matter,
me
yeah,
Rusty.
let's
Stop.
go on. Let's go on.
Okay. Name one. Name one. Name one flat earther whose crux of their argument is religious and not evidentiary.
Well, okay.
Do
Not
do
necessarily, but
do
Lemon
do
Bird.
do 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 do
Lemon
do.
Bird.
Lemon Bird presents evidence of the physical nature of the surface properties of the ground upon which he stands as his primary reason for believing that the Earth is flat. So next
Primary evidence is
example.
simply observation.
Next example, please.
Well, next is example? No.
Yeah, no.
I
How
don't
about the
remember
first
the names of the
example?
people I talked to. I'm just here, and I just can say that sometimes it derives into a religious discussion. That's what I can say. That God
Listen, a lot
and
of people
about
who
God
are
and so on.
religious
I'm not
will.
saying everyone is that's a
That's not
flat
the
Earth
point.
is like some sort of
The
religious.
point is, if
I'm
you
sorry,
have a religion, let's say, and you also believe in flat Earth, then your natural inclination would be to synthesize the ideas. So of course you're going to start parsing the scriptures or whatever religious doctrine and be like, well, how does this mesh up with the observations that I've made or the proofs that I've come to believe, etc. Now,
Sure.
most people on Earth are religious. They ascribe to a religion. So it's more likely than not you will encounter someone that holds an idea while also ascribing to a religion.
Sure. I was just experiencing that the flat Earth community apparently is very grounded in a religious base. I'm sorry if that's not the case. That was just my experience. If that's not the case, I'm fine.
He's absolutely right, and I'll give you the reason for it. It's open minds. You're just close-minded people that avoid all of these sorts of things. I think that's probably the connection.
No, if
What,
that's
you're
not
going to
the
have to
case,
say
I'm
that
fine.
again.
It's just a community of open-minded people. Open-minded people are religious. Open-minded people look into conspiracy. Open-minded people do this, do that. Closed-minded people avoid all of it and just listen to the books and look at the books and depend on the books and the Bill Nye the Science Guy. So that's how it works. Anyway, I'm just listening.
Right, sure.
I don't even listen to Bill Nye. I was just
the majority of humans operate on authority paradigms. That's how they function in their daily life. They require to be told what to do. They require a structure from which to organize their daily activities. They're simply not as independent as they should be, because that's the way society's been structured. And
Sure, I can
that's
understand.
intentional. That's intentional from the government's point of view downward.
I mean, I can see it from your point of view. Sure.
Rusty B, what is the speed what you are living? Flying?
What?
Back to this one again.
Rusty B, what is your speed you are spinning at your point?
0.
Good answer. Good answer.
That is very true.
I thought you were. Do you believe the globe Earth or the flat Earth?
Globe.
So what is
He's
the
pointing out that you should be spinning.
what is
Your
the speed
location,
of
you have
your
a speed.
spinning?
No, what
At your
relative?
loca-
Like on a relative speed, I'm not spinning at all.
No, I talked about the spinning of the Earth's surface. What is the spinning speed of the Earth's surface in your location?
For example, it's over 1,000 miles an hour around the equator.
Yeah.
I don't think someone would know that off the top of their head, man.
Yeah, I don't know right now.
Why do you
No,
not
but
know
it's-
that? Why are you here and you don't know what the speed are you spinning?
Okay, water. What is it? What is the humidity percentage outside right now where you live?
Doesn't matter
Check
to the
the
shape of
weather.
the Earth.
I can check it from
Yeah,
the weather,
I'm just-
but I'm not
10%.
discussing about the weather here.
I'm just
I'm
saying, man.
discussing
You know,
about the
there are some
speed of
questions
the
no one's
Earth.
gonna know off the top of
You
their
are
heads.
moving the goalpost again.
I hear you. I hear
Nate.
you. I'm
Why?
just giving you an example to
No,
show you that.
no.
The bad example. I don't like that.
I mean, it's quite easy. At the end of the day, some people might actually know their their latitude on the Earth, right? So if they know that, you can get a rough kind of idea how spinning or rotating on the surface of the Earth.
Coming here and didn't know that what is the speed what they are spinning.
I don't know.
It's four,
Yeah.
How you can
460
argue?
meters per second. Like
It's one
I don't
thing
know
not to
what
know
you're
that.
going
It's
to.
another to come here to argue.
Is it just
spinning when you
because
don't
of what
know.
I feel, or is it like the
Okay,
what
what
is acceptable?
direction are you spinning? Which direction are you spinning? Easier question.
Direction?
1, 2, 3.
To west.
Thank you.
West.
You're spinning to the west.
Well, I don't know right now, dude.
You don't know what
No.
direction you're spinning.
But you're sure that you are.
No, it doesn't matter for
So
me
you,
which
so
direction.
you are
I'm
arguing
speed,
here that you are
what
spinning, but
direction.
you don't know what's the direction you're spinning. Whoa.
I mean, you said to you, it feels like nothing. You don't know what direction. You don't know what speed. But you're
No,
so
I don't know.
adamant that it is the case
don't
that you're
have
here arguing with people who actually do know this stuff, that you're right
Yeah,
and everyone
I know.
else is wrong.
I spin 835 kilometers per hour to the different direction.
Hold it. I gotta bring up a point, bros. I gotta bring this up. Okay, this is why we've all been talking about this whole time. Is his claim was that even if we were taken to space and we looked back and saw the globe in its entirety, that we would still deny it's a globe. Yet he doesn't even know the reasons of the logistics of the said globe which he believes in without having seen it in the manner in which he just described.
Yeah, he's just brainwashed and stubborn.
But yet he believes we're brainwashed in our idea, so much so that if we saw the Earth as it is, we would deny it. Because we, in his mind, are religious zealots. That is why he made the assertion that most flat earthers are religious. Because he was intending to make a passive-aggressive insult and didn't own up to it.
I haven't
Yeah, but
heard
you're-
one God, this, that, or whatever the whole last few hours, you know? Like, where's he coming from?
No, he just serves the purpose of highlighting the kind of intellectual obstinance you deal with when you're having this conversation, and how you can't have an intellectually honest conversation with some people about it, because even though they don't know anything, they are perfectly happy to and we're interested. That's all.
Yeah, I agree with Wolfgang on that one. I think.
Yeah, and many times it's not even intentional. It's just the nature of the programming in which they've been raised and the indoctrination of the education system and social pressure.
Yeah, the propensity to debate a
Like they're
topic
doing it.
you know you don't know is like mind blowing to me. If I don't know a topic, I'll just sit down quietly and listen for a bit.
Yeah, sit down, shut up if you don't know. Don't sit there and claim that it doesn't work or it does work when you don't know the fucking basic premise of it.
That's the most frustrating part.
Now, listen, brother. Brother who is wondering whether it's a flat or a globe. We're here for you.
Yeah, we are.
You can be here, we will listen to you. You could tell us we wouldn't believe if we saw it with our own eyes.
All that's required is honesty and respect.
I've got one. I've got one.
I think he
we're
muted
talking
himself.
about. If we, oh, that's a shame.
Yeah. And
Oh.
deafened. Damn.
That should be
I'll
a
be back
kind
if
of
he's interested.
that should be kind of in for somebody coming here to talk about, they should know what the speed they are moving around and what direction.
I mean, I don't. I mean, because I'm figured out where I am and so on. But that one is probably the furthest down the list of, can you explain seasons on a globe Earth? Can you give us a circumference or the radius of it? I think it is one of those lower down things. I wouldn't be jumping up and down on someone just because they didn't know exactly that speed. I'd point it out to them and help them find out. But yeah, the one about direction. Everyone should know that, really. West to east.
Well, it's becoming apparent that a lot of these guys aren't here to debate. They're here for some interpersonal reason that they're not really able to quantify in words. Maybe it's cognitive dissonance and they're trying to put a soothing on it. Maybe they're compelled by the wooing of the creator to learn about his creation. Who knows?
Yeah, I've been trying to wonder the same thing. Like, what brings them back with the same, lack of interest in even looking up any information before they come for a debate. I can't understand it. I really can't get my head around it.
And I mean, if it's come for a debate, they don't have to, and it's fine if they don't know.
Yeah, but
they don't have to. But if you were to come here and to take an attitude that everyone is crazy and inferring some kind of religious belief, blind faith, when you don't even know the discussion, that's when it's a different matter. I mean, it's fine not to know things, but then you've got to have some intellectual humility.
I think when the backing of science starts to, prop you up, and you start to get your confidence from that, but that's dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, I like to defend myself on this case. The thing is, I mean, when I'm at work, I just listen to a lot of debates on flat Earth because I don't know, it's just something that's interesting to me. It's just the most of time it diverts to the religious discussion, right? That's just how it is.
Why?
But,
yeah, but do you know why? Why
yeah,
would you
why?
think that is the case, that it does so?
Because they are talking about the Bible and Jesus and stuff like that?
No, the logical conclusion. It's the next question after figuring out the shape of the Earth. The next question is, how the fuck did the Earth get here and why am I here to experience it? So ultimately, with a flat Earth, you've only got one conclusion because you understand that it has to be a created environment. Matter doesn't make itself, so intelligent source creator has to create things. Always goes down the religious path because it is the ball that spins that gives you a new creation story, part 2 or answer to the ontological primitive or dichotomy of creation. Because if God didn't do it and matter creates itself, how the fuck did that happen? So that's why it goes down a religious route, because that's what the ball actually gives you. Another answer to creation.
That's the God of the gaps fallacy.
Is it? You've got two choices.
Pretty much.
You've got two choices when we're talking about a beginning and the thing of Earth being created. It is either, according to a ball that spins in space, matter creating itself, something of zero volume and infinite density and infinite heat expanding into and creating everything. And because of time thrown into the mix and a few laws of nature, here you are to experience the Earth and interact with it. So, God of the gaps, it is literally the choice that you have. Either God did it, or it was made some other way, not intelligently, i.e. matter created itself.
No, either God made it, or we don't know, which is the scientific...
Oh, dear.
Look,
it
appears self-evident. It appears self-evident that we live, if it's flat especially, in a created, ordered, designed system specifically for us. Now, most rational humans make the jump to, well, if we live in such a system, it must have been created. Now, you can then take two choices. Well, it was created by a higher being or a previous being that exists within the same universe, or or one that exists extra universally. So either an alien did it or God did it, because somebody did it. So the first jump is somebody did it. Then it is who did it. And then you might say, well, it might be aliens, but then you end up with the same problems with the aliens. How did they get here and all of that? So it ultimately leads back to that choice that somebody did it, and it doesn't seem rational that somebody like us previously did it, since you still need the whole, avoiding the infinite regress, etc.
Yeah, sure, but like let
So
me
it's
ask you a
very
question.
rational. It's not only
Sure.
rational, it's pretty much logically necessary that it leads to
Sure,
the
I like it.
discussion of the creator as a god type being.
Sure,
Sure.
but let
Sure.
me
That's
ask you a
good.
question. Let me ask you a question.
Hang on, just want to say
How many
something.
how many people on this planet believe in a god, like a supreme being? Like a percentage. Most. 69%?
You'd have to check the statistics
Regardless
from
of
country
it,
to
it doesn't
country.
really matter. I think if I last time I checked, it was like 89 or 90 something percent.
89%.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so.
Okay. That's the answer that I wanted. Okay, that's the answer I'm accept.
So why are you
Hey.
so interested in people that have faith in a god?
No, I'm just asking a question about the topic.
And I'm asking you a question about the topic. Can you answer me, or
Yeah.
is that not
So
okay?
so 89% of people, what was it? 49% of people believe in a god.
Hey,
No,
let
49.
Reckoner ask what he's going to ask before you go on, because he's been talking and we've been talking over him for like 2
Sure.
minutes.
Thank you.
No,
here's what
I'm
going
just
to say.
saying. So
Yeah, just
like
said let
49
Reckoner ask what
I'm
he's
going
going
to
to
say.
ask.
Oh, Reckoner. Okay, go on.
Yeah, thank you. So here, so if you have the Big Bang, if you have the God, whatever, you have to imagine all these gases, maybe there's some sort of space, whatever sort of materials are out there, helium, hydrogen, whatever. You have to answer, where does the consciousness come from? How do you get that at first? And then you understand God is consciousness. That's one. Everything is that. Anything that is consciousness is that God. And it wanted to live in a material existence. So it does. And it manifests itself in every way for eternity and expresses itself through Fibonacci and all these other meanings that you can discover, the golden rule. And there's a beautiful sort of infinity to it. Anyway, thank you. I'll be listening.
Could I interject?
Of course, you can, Supercar.
Just as a side mark, I agree with that was
In a minute.
cool what Reckoner just said, but I'm still confused how Reckoner came to the server sounding like pretty much an American, maybe in his 20s. And ever since then, his voice has this weird Arnold Schwarzenegger accent, and it like sounds
He's
different. like,
Austrian.
it's clearly a voice changer. No, this is not. I mean, unless
He's
it's a totally
Austrian.
different guy,
It's not a voice.
it's a voice changer, a different guy, or he's just a pretty good voice actor that he can make a completely different voice.
I was thinking Arnold.
Yeah, it has been noticed.
Why
You're
don't you
absolutely
find
right.
this voice changer for me and use it? We can have a conversation. It'd be great.
It's just really weird.
Listen to me. Listen to me. They're trying to infiltrate you. Listen to me.
Guys, you don't
Trying to use
realize
sock
that
puppets.
you don't realize that Austrians maybe sound that way? That
No,
Arnold
this is not
didn't
how he
have-
sounds. No, when he came to the server, we talked for hours. He did not sound like this at all. It's just disingenuous of him. Unless if he doesn't want his voice to be heard, he could say, "Hey, I'm using a voice changer because I'm afraid of something or whatever." But to just do it's kind of a troll, or it's just disingenuous.
I mean, I don't think the
But why
voice
would
changer
you-
will have that effect.
Explain who it was.
Why
Sorry, Emma?
would you pick Arnold Schwarzenegger to make yourself seem smarter?
I'm not trying to make myself smarter and don't
No,
answer the
because it
question.
doesn't work.
I asked you the question, and I told you before. You don't know who's on the Discord. You don't know how many people use an account. You don't know anything. So you're making all sorts of assumptions, just like you do at the Flat Earth. Anyway, I'm just going to listen, and I'll talk to you in a bit.
Flat Earth isn't an assumption, it's an observation and a measurement, and it's also practically used as a flat stationary plane, built upon, navigated, and travelled across as such. It's your assumption that you're on a ball.
Did he slip into a South African accent slightly?
Might have done. I don't fucking know.
Well, every time I've asked him that, that's usually what he says. He says, "You don't know who's on Discord. You don't know who's behind the mic." That's what he keeps telling us. What does that mean? Like he's
Maybe
telling that
ignorant.
as if it's just weird.
Could he be AI? I mean, really, could he be an artificial intelligence, not a real person?
No.
You sure about that?
Well, he's not
No,
wrong.
he cannot be. He cannot be. If he was, I would know it.
So when he came into the server the other night, like we were talking about astrology and stuff, and he said he'd been listening on the YouTube stream for like a month and a half, and then he finally decided to come in, and he actually was pretty woke to astrology. He understood it, and we had a pretty awesome conversation, and then went late into the night, and seemed like a cool guy. I mean, he's sort of on the fence in terms of the flat earth thing, but he was open to a lot of things. And then for some reason, ever since then, he just sounds like Arnold Schwarzenegger with either a voice changer or he's pretty good at just doing the accent. And then I'm just asking him why he's doing it. I mean, if he was honest and said, you know what, I'm afraid the CIA is going to hear me or something, so I'm doing a fake accent, at least that would be honest. But just to do it seems bizarre.
You're so funny.
I hope the CIA is hearing me. I've got questions for them.
Yeah, me too.
I did told you. You don't know who's in the Discord. You don't know how many people using the account. You don't know where it comes from. You don't know anything. So why don't you just keep talking about it and I'll listen?
So that's your reason to use a fake voice is because, quote unquote, you don't know who's on Discord? That's your reason?
No, you mean like maybe there's 2 people using that account.
Thank you. Thank you. You're a rocket scientist.
Well, then why doesn't he say that? Hey, I'm using a different account. He could be honest.
No, I mean, hey, be honest, maybe.
Because then the illusion that there is many people that are here to defend the globe will be broken, right?
Maybe
it's
he's
just
just
a handful
bounty
of desperate people trying to
how would-
appear as if they are many in numbers, right?
How
That
would
could be
we-
a reason.
Maybe
We
his
can
kids
go back,
hold
we-
on. His kid's from the U.S., born here. He's from Austria. He showed his dad, gave him the phone. That it's his account now. You know, who cares? I didn't meet the first guy, but are you sure this is not 2 different people here, just using the same name?
I mean, it could be that if he was honest and just said, hey, I'm a different person than the other Reckonor, I guess that would be honest. It either sounds like he's a really pretty talented voice actor to make his voice sound quite different than it sounded before, and he's able to maintain it, or he's using a voice changer, or is a different person. Kind of sounds like his voice, to be honest. Like, even though it has the accent, it kind of has the same voice print of his original voice. So I would assume that he just started doing this goofy accent because, I don't know.
Like this channel that everyone is like baited into is called live stream channel. So maybe you could have a separate channel called like off stream or
Yeah, that's what the
off-stream
chill,
flat
the
earther.
chill, the chill VC is for, like whatever you feel like talking about. Yeah, yeah, and it's not live streamed. What did you say, Mars?
Oh no, you carry on. It's fine.
No, go ahead.
I'm fine.
Okay, well, speak up if you want to. Yeah, I mean, but my
Yeah,
point
so
here is
that's what I'm saying,
Skygazer.
like,
My
maybe-
point here, my point before you go on. So you have
Yeah.
some good ideas about the server and ways you think it should be, shouldn't be, et cetera, et cetera. But you see that there's a structure in place here. Like, we don't want chaos, and the structure does work for trying to keep things on topic, trying to give everyone a chance to
Right.
participate. So what you have to do then, if you have all these great ideas that you'd like to be implemented, is humble yourself to the people that are currently in charge, and then introduce your ideas in a non-confrontational way, and they'd be more likely to listen to them, and you get less hostility, and you get muted less. If you control yourself and think, oh, maybe I did everything, maybe there's someone else here who's really quiet, I could ask that person what they think about it, because I might get a new perspective. So isn't that why we're all here, just to learn from other people and not just
Yeah, but I think
if
I
I
don't
just
know,
want to talk to the mirror, I can just stand in front of the mirror and talk to it. If I just want to hear myself talk.
Yeah, but how many people?
Hey guys, I have to
like,
be
I
right
think
back.
that a lot of people.
Okay, not.
A lot of people, when they're accepted into the Discord channel, like the first aspect that they're giving access to is the live stream channel. And it seems to me like people aren't necessarily giving access to these next level channels. Whether
Oh,
you
maybe
call
you
them-
can't see the ones I'm talking about. Maybe that is the problem. You don't see the
Yeah,
chill.
I can see it.
VC.
I can see
Okay,
it. But it seems like there's not many. I think there's a lot of people just visiting, stopping by. They want to listen to the ideas. They want to explore more. but then they're turned off by the fact that we're only talking about geometry and debating with Glober, and therefore they're just jumping onto like another channel.
Well, the
And
cool
I think that
thing, Skygazer, the cool thing is you don't have to worry about all of that. Like, you can just enjoy your time here. You don't have any, like, roles of responsibility. So, I mean, you could suggest to people, if you see new people in there, hey, I'm going to go down to Chill VC if anyone wants to come down and talk about philosophy of life. Woohoo! Or there's a
Right, but
philosophy channel.
I need the authority to be able to invite new members to the channel, because a lot of people, they're unmuted by default. They're not allowed to even access these very basic channels.
I
Even
don't
though
know.
like
If they're VC verified, I think they can. VC
I
verified.
mean, being like a member wouldn't classify you to bring people down to the channel like forcefully, but would be able to verify them. And that's a whole nother process you'd have to get more into the server about if you're looking to become a flat earther or just become a member of this role of this Discord.
Right, but it seems like right now, it seems to me like there's this black or white system where it's like either you pass a test and you're a flat earther, and then you get access to all of the channels, or you fail the test and then you're kicked out and you can never access the channel again. And I think we're losing a lot of interesting people in this point. And then what we're attracting intelligent shills that have practiced all of these questions, like Zan and all of these people that are able to bypass it, and they're able to engage our conversation and disrupt it. And what ends
Well,
up
you
happening
might
is
see it
that
as engaging and disrupting, but it's also, I mean, if there is no, without clouds, the rain can't wash the
you
land.
can think of it
You
as
have
like
to have
you
something to work
sharpening your sword
against.
kind of
Yes,
thing.
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand what you're saying. When I first came here, it was hard for me to understand, like, why do we let these Globers go on and on with no progress, no common ground? I don't know. I mean, I kind of understand it more now just because I see, like, the alternative is if you're just sitting around a bunch of flat earthers, I mean, that can be fun. It's kind of like, oh, yeah, I agree. Yep, no curve. I mean, that's fun
it's like
too,
sharpening your
sometimes for a
argument.
rest. But if there was no Xanax, in here, then, or M Scotch Beach, or, I mean, some of these people might be shills. I also have found, personally, since I've been here, like, just the
Well,
whole
the guy's
concept,
been
whether someone's a shill or not,
years.
isn't as pertinent to me, because it's like, it's what you do with responding to that person, in front of these other people who, like you said, have come in to learn.
If you have
And
like,
so
if
if we didn't have those opportunities,
capability,
then we wouldn't be able to do that, period.
Into a conversation.
Okay, so here's a great. Okay, so
30
Skygazer. Okay, right here. I'm not saying this because I care if you talk over me or anything. It's like, you didn't hear probably the whole last half of what I said, but you just talked over me like several times, and then you're wondering like why you're muted in the live stream. The same thing happened to you just like a short time ago. You DM'd me. Why did they mute me? I mean, come on, like get over yourself. It's not all about you. I mean, if someone muted me, I'd be like, oh my gosh, well, I must be. I mean, I'm surprised people don't mute me more because I know I can go off. I mean, no question.
Well,
like people, but if they did, I'd be like, whoa, I guess I'm way over the line. I better reel myself in. I mean, I totally would. I mean, what do I say?
And that's what I try to do.
Why don't
I
you
literally
do that?
try to
No,
do that.
what? You don't do that. You were just sitting there arguing in live stream one chat. Oh my God, they're muting me because I talked about Tesla. And now they're talking about pointless stuff. It's like, what you think is pointless stuff, they obviously care about, or they wouldn't be talking about it.
Well,
I also want to make a point.
I think it's the confusing issue here, which is what a lot of these people that have been DMing me, like these lot of people that have been joining the channel that they're muted, and what they're saying is that they're questioning the fact that there is this globe entity that's entering the conversation. Like Zan is a good example of it. He's just one of them, but there's a lot of them. And he's being allowed to talk over a lot of people. He's interrupting a lot of conversations. He's saying, hey, you better listen to me. Listen to me, let me finish, while interrupting other people presenting their arguments. and people are getting frustrated by this, and that's why they're personally sending me messages, because I'm the guy who's speaking up against it. And as a result, of course, I'm getting muted by it because I'm interrupting this guy. And my question is, why is this guy being allowed when he's using the same rhetoric that I'm using, but in a worse way? Like, I admit that I use some bad rhetoric sometimes. I'll speak over people. I'll use some bad rhetoric. I'll say like, hey, why don't you answer this, and reflect the question, that kind of thing. But I question the motivation behind why are certain people banned versus other people. That seems to be like, according to the direct messages that I'm getting, seems to be like a common issue here that people are reacting toward.
Who cares? I mean, I'm sorry. That's just my
I got
response.
some
Like, if I don't
things to
say,
say about
what were
it.
you going to say? Question.
I mean, before I go into that topic, I want to mention that when new members come in here, they come in here with only access to 3% of the server. So unless you verify yourself or you go through the process of getting a role, you're only going to see 3% of the server and all the information. And once you're verified, you're able to get access to the rest of the percentage of the server. And people get banned through different reasons, through how they interact with each individual staff member here, or how they correlated with a few staff members. And some of these bans can be undone through the private messaging and the understanding, but most of the bans here are from their personal interactions with another staff member.
So wouldn't you say that the system is very receptive towards being infiltrated by these entities that are trying to infiltrate the community and dissuade the conversation towards these very banal dilemmas that have already been resolved within the community?
I mean, our interest is not to like filter out and have a process for these infiltrators, but to have a process of control through all these newcomers. And we just look at it like that. We're not looking at it like people are trying to infiltrate us and we have to ban
So
them.
what is actually the goal of the live stream? Because that seems to a lot of people that have reached out to me, it seems to be very unclear. Like, a lot of people are messaging me and they're saying,
Wow, you have all these fans. Maybe you should start your own server and do it all better. You could bring all your fans with you. That'd be cool, huh?
Sounds
no,
like a
I'm just
great
asking,
idea.
what's the
Thanks,
agenda? What's the agenda of the channel? Because
I mean,
The agenda is to spread
publicly,
information about Split Earth. Go ahead, question, sorry.
To publicize the conversation of day-to-day conversation and debate about flat earth and the topics. I mean, if you're able to like get into it, then you can, but I guess you'd have to find your time in your own leisure to be able to talk to it with the staff members or on live if you would willing to.
Well, I'm super happy to hear like an honest answer about that, because I think that a lot of people who enter the channel, they are people who have traversed all of these, geometric dilemmas and the level, like the ideas of the curvature of the earth, and they no longer want to debate it. They've
No.
already
You think
trespassed.
that because you've heard it many times, but there's many people every day coming in that have not heard the things, and so it is useful to them to hear the debate. So it's up to you. Like, you don't have to hang around here. No one's holding you down. If you don't like hearing the flat Earth argument like multiple times a day and possibly the same
Well,
thing,
exactly,
then you probably don't belong here. Or
I probably don't. And that's what I'm trying to hear here.
I mean, I'm not trying to be rude by saying that. I'm just saying, like, if you don't like the way things going, then maybe,
I think
like I
it's
said, start your own server, find one that conforms to your expectations. You might like the ice wall. Have you ever been there? I
well,
bet
it's
you
not
would
about
love it
something
there. I'll send
conforming
you an
towards
invitation.
me.
I bet you would love that. They talk about everything there. You wouldn't have to stick to flat Earth. I bet you would like that.
No, I think a lot of people want to like a lot of people who have perceived the idea of flat Earth, they want to then transcend to the next level. Like a lot of people are in that, and I think that this channel is a lot about like on the base level, it's like two rams battering against each other, and they're like pushing, and always refining their own arguments. So it's benefiting both factions essentially, because you're dealing with like lore, like accepted lore, and a lot of people want to go above that. And what I'm getting from you is the fact that you don't want to get any, you want to stay in the conversation of perpetual sophist debate. Like that's where you feel
Yeah,
comfortable.
debating with a sophist using realism is a valuable thing to do. That's something that's been done for hundreds of years. So you can't
Yeah,
say having a
but
sophist. So we're calling, you know, who the Z
no, but
person.
a
We're
lot
talking
of
about the
people,
sophist. He's not
have
even the best
already
sophist. We're
gone
missing
through this.
some of the best
A lot
ones.
of people have
They're
gone
not
through
here
this.
anymore, which is what you want. You want to get rid of all the Globers. That doesn't make any sense. That's
No, but
one reason why. So
that's
you're,
the
I know,
thing
I
I'm
understand you.
saying.
It's because you're seeing that they're intransigent. They're intransigent, which they are. They do not budge. But there are other people who are budging. I've seen it happen since I've been here. The other people
No,
who are
but
listening are budging
no,
because they're
but what I'm
seeing
saying
this
here.
guy
So
come in
you're missing the
here.
point. You're missing the
And
point.
you're
You're
interrupting
missing
me
the point
again,
here.
just like you did with Becky. So actually, before we go on with that, are you going to, because your point that you were muted because you were talking about Tesla, are you sticking to that?
No, it seems to me quite obvious that the reason why I was muted was that I wanted to elevate the conversation, because
No,
I was
that's
having
not
a
the
very
reason.
deep conversation with a few of the members in the channel.
Okay, and what I'm telling you, Skygazer, I love you enough to be honest. What you consider a deep conversation, like tons of people are like, yawn, when is this guy ever going to stop talking? I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. But you can have a good conversation. I've had good conversations with you. But when then someone's giving you like some constructive criticism or trying to move the topic along, and you're just jumping in there every time like you did, you talked over Becky, then you complain that someone was white knighting because they were trying to let another person talk. That's not white knighting. That's people fed up with you dominating the conversation hour after hour after hour after hour.
At that point. I was offended at that
Good,
point.
because sometimes you need to be offended to jolt you out of your comfortable spot. And you need to, if you're going to stay here, you need to learn basic conversation skills. And you need to get muted sometimes if you refuse to learn the same lesson over and over and over, and you keep going in the same way over and over and over. I'm telling you, other people think other things are fascinating. What's fascinating to you is not always fascinating to everyone else in the room. So you could sit there and like for 10 minutes without getting muted, just listen to what other people talk about and say, I wonder why that's fascinating to me. I'm just going to listen real deep.
Right, but it just seems like to me that a lot of the conversations that are being had on that channel seems to me personally, it just seems like they're like these subjects that in my head they've already been addressed, like this idea of geometry, trigonometry.
Yes, and I just told you
whether
they're going to be addressed again and again because there's new people all the time. So then we go over the information, and then you could. Let's see, instead of saying, oh, I hate geometry, they're talking about that, I'm going to elevate it to talking about whatever the hell I have in my mind. You could say, maybe I could learn how to introduce these conversations to new people and learn new techniques for doing it so that if I'm one-on-one with a new person who knows nothing about flat Earth, I could start explaining. No, that's not what you're doing. You're going off rabbit trail. You're going down rabbit trails. You are not going back to basics.
Because
often
that's the logical conclusions of those like ideological ideas. If you go down the path of like oil being like a finite resource and electricity being an infinite resource and all these things, like you're gonna end up in a rabbit hole, and then you have these people who are saying that, well, how does this tie into flat Earth? Like, these people have totally lost the plot. They no longer like connect with what you're saying. And to me, I'm like, well, there should be a channel for these people who want to discuss.
And there are. Yeah, we just said that. We just said you're welcome to at any time in the chat put an invite or say in the live stream, I'm going to go down to the Chill VC so I can talk about whatever I want if anyone wants to come.
Yeah.
You're welcome to do that at any time.
I'll do that.
Yeah, people do that.
Yeah, I'll do that. But then, I have like this little guilty pleasure of like, I like to hear about nonsense and feel superior to these people who believe in nonsense. But I'll try to focus it more on towards the fact that the thing that I feel like I can contribute is about the, I can if I don't mean to brag or anything, but I think that I can maybe help people on their own to discover these deeper things. And I think maybe from my conversations with you, I would imagine that you probably had those kind of mentors or people that or information sources that pushed you into investigating certain like types of information, and that's what
There's
I feel like.
nothing wrong with being a mentor. There's nothing wrong with being a mentor, but I've found it's not a good idea to just automatically think like I'm a mentor to this new person, especially if I just met them. I think, well, maybe that person knows more than me. Maybe they're the mentor and I'm the mentee. So, and actually, even if you could be a mentor in one area, the person that you're talking to might be able to teach you something in another area. Do you ever think about that? They might not know everything.
I would, and maybe I'm like, but maybe for me it's like if I'm in a room with like 30 people, I'll admit like I have this weakness where I wanna like dominate the room, and I wanna say that like, hey, this is the reality. Like let's focus the conversation. I no longer want to talk about geometry. Let's focus on the origins of natural science, and I want to really push it there.
So can you see that it's all about you? It's what you want.
Right.
No, well, and
I must admit, when there's 30 people in the room, I do like to dominate the conversation. And if I think that, we should be talking about something else, then I like to bring that up. I mean, you've got to understand when there's 30 people in a room, they're not all going to want to discuss, what you want to discuss. And I find that all the time, I'll listen for hours and hours about topics that I find completely boring, waiting for, something to come up that I'm interested in. That's called sharing.
Hello, Sister Becky.
Well, to me, that's called work, because that's a voluntary
hey, my
effort.
brother.
If I want to,
yeah, it is. It is work. It is work to share. That's part of being in a community. Hey, brother.
Yeah. So that's why I feel bad, because I don't want to be the guy who's like pushing my own worldview. I want to have like an area where I can be engaging with like-minded people. I don't want to interrupt the constructive conversation that other people are having. Like if 25 people are having a constructive conversation that they want to discuss geometry, the curvature of the Earth, and so on. But then you have these other 5 people that want to discuss Antarctica, the finitude of oil
so
resources,
you do realize
and so on.
We've got several voice channels here that we can split at any time to have many topics being discussed at once. It's just a matter of communication and working that out and bringing, other people into another room. And we could do that. We just have to work on our communication skills, I think.
Yeah,
I think, and it's something that's this place, Skygazer, is very good for improving your communication skills. So I hope you will take that to heart, because I have found it very
well. I have very good communication
for that reason. Okay, well, I have told you that you have some areas to improve on. So you think I'm lying to you? You think I'm just pretending not to appreciate your wonderful skills?
No, that was a joke. Actually.
Okay, good. I'm glad it was a joke.
Yeah, but all right. Can you break it down into like 3 tips, like 3 ways I can improve my communication skills? Like, what would that be?
Yes, I can. Just a minute. What? What? Yeah, take it off. I'll bring this up to you when I'm done. Okay, yes, I will. Just a minute. I think the greatest way that you can improve your communication skills is by trying to see, you can do these things consciously. For example, you can come up with some techniques because since the first day you came in here, which was the day that we had a trivia night, remember that several weeks ago where you came down there and every time Crypto trying to ask a question, you just kept talking, and you had, I think you got muted in that also. You could say, gosh, I have this a
I have a
tendency to
tendency
like
to get
talk.
muted. Yeah.
No, that's not what I was going to say. Yeah, you do have a tendency to get muted because
Well,
you
that's
have a
my
tendency to
view
talk
on it.
over people. Yeah, which you just have demonstrated once again. You could decide, okay, the first like 15 to 20 minutes I come in, I am going to just keep myself muted and just listen, try to get a feel for the conversation, what other people care about, and then if I feel like there's something just incredibly fascinating I must bring up, I will wait until they have a break in the conversation. I'll see if anyone's interested in talking about it. But if I get to the point where I'm just going on and on and on, maybe with one other person and no one else is talking, then maybe I should just mute myself again and then just see what happens. Because you know what happened after you got muted today? Like 5 or 6 people started having a really productive conversation. And then you came in and complained that you were muted because you were elevating the conversation and you didn't like what they were talking about. But guess what? The reason why 6 or 7 people were involved in the conversation is because more people found that interesting than what you had previously been talking about with Waterball for an
okay.
hour.
Can I interject here?
No, you asked for 3 things, but that's the first one. But yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I wanna like interject here and defend my little. I wanna interject here and defend my little broken down ego and say, what if could it be that like I'm presenting these ideas and as I'm presenting them, fewer and fewer people are gonna go along with it, because if you're talking about the idea of truth, like less and less people are gonna understand the idea of truth. So like the majority is gonna accept this kind of low grade idea of truth. Whereas if you start to narrow it down, then you're naturally gonna like arrive at a point where you're dealing with very few people. And naturally, if you're like living in that, then in the nature of time, and dealing with different types of people, you're gonna deal with less and less people.
I understand what you're saying. I'm sorry if I was too harsh on you because you made that comment about your ego. I am not trying to break you down, bring you down. I'm trying to explain to you why you are constantly having conflict in the live stream and you're getting muted and then you're arguing about it because you still don't understand why. But I hear what you're saying. You're saying just because 2 people are talking about it only doesn't mean it's not valid. That it could be that the truth is only accessible or appealing to a small number of people. I understand that concept, yes, but but see, everyone has to be, even if that's the case, even if Skygazer, you are the most enlightened person on the planet and we just don't see it. I mean, I'll acknowledge that's a possibility, right? Let's just thought experiment. Skygazer is amazing. All knowledge comes from Skygazer. He is the key to enlightenment for us all. We can only work from where we are. If you think whatever their conversation is, you think it's lower level, it's not relevant, it's not truth. I mean, it means something to them, and maybe they're getting something out of it from their perspective, even if it's not the thing you would like to talk about.
But then what if they want to just battle against it, and then I want to only accept a certain amount of battles? So I have like 30 people who want to battle against it, assuming that this thing is the truth, the ultimate truth, in a completely hypothetical scenario. I don't think what I'm saying is the ultimate truth. Hypothetically, there's an entity with the ultimate truth, and then you have 50 people that are combating it with the ultimate truth, and then that's the question, is like, how do you deal with it from that point of view? Like, what do? You associate with the people that kind of understand what you say and that you think can progress the message throughout time, and you want to reach out to them, and you want to speak loudly so that they can understand the message.
Okay, so here's another suggestion. Here's point number 2. You asked for 3, I think. I gave you 1. You can speak in shorter, pieces. You don't have to go on for like 5. Like, people pay more attention, and I can be guilty of going on. I do it sometimes. Sometimes it's necessary. But I have noticed on this server, the most effective people will just come in and say, this, and then silence, wait, does that inspire anyone else to say something else? I mean, that's an effective conversation. Usually, like, you could even have a stopwatch. Here's another concrete thing. You could put a note card on your computer or phone that says, remember, 20 minutes of silence when I come into the server, mute myself. 2, stopwatch. Talk for no more than 2 minutes and then see if anyone has a response to what I have to say. 3, here's your third point. We talked about we were going to learn social skills. You can reach out to other people on the live stream and ask them specific questions to draw them into the conversation.
Mary, can I cut you off for a second?
I never
by all means, question. Let's hear it. Question.
Hold on. I got 2 things to say for you. I got one thing is if you're in another voice channel and you're looking for somebody to talk to, do not go into other voice channels and like interrupt talking about. If you want to talk about a certain subject, come to this voice chat. You can post in different channels that you're gonna be in this channel, but do not like go into other like live streams and try to do that. And do not try to misrepresent flat earth or like give misrepresenting information, or somebody will be listening and they'll like ban
Well,
you or something.
I never really misrepresented anyone.
Well,
What
I'm
I
not
did was
saying
that
you did, but I'm just telling you if you ever do, if you start saying misleading or misrepresenting information,
yeah,
that
no
things
shit,
will possibly
no
happen.
shit. That's
Yeah, I mean, what he's saying,
basic
like,
truth.
so you, I mean, you are a globe skeptic, so you consider yourself a globe skeptic. So perhaps you think that it's a good idea for more people to be informed about the false nature of the globe. So we're trying to present like a unified front here. That's part of what, like Becky was saying, we're a community. Like, we're trying to accomplish something.
Wait, is that like
So
on
if you
my
are,
Discord tag, or you're
so
like reading
that's
from my Discord tag? Is that I'm a globe skeptic, or what are you saying?
that's what you told me, like, one of the first days you were here. Have you changed now?
No, well, I think that if I'm being intellectually honest, I cannot intellectually honestly say that like flat earth is the ultimate reality of the world. What I can ultimately say is that I don't believe in the globe earth, and the fact that everything that I observe around me points towards a flat earth. And I don't know how to like
There's
boil
nothing
that
wrong
down
with being a
to.
globe skeptic. I'm not saying that. I mean,
No,
that's
but
fine. I was
my
just
point
saying
is that
that's
I
how you
cannot
describe
boil that
yourself to
down
me.
to
So
one of
I was
these
saying,
Discord terms.
yeah.
Like, how do you boil that? Like, because that's a more complex idea. So how do you boil that down to? Because what you're dealing with in Discord is categories, and I have to find the point that's the closest to me in the Discord theories. And yeah, I would love to call myself a flat earther and go all in, but and claim that I have done all the experiments and done the P20 camera experiments and so on. But ultimately, that's the honest observation I have, and I really appreciate honesty, and I think that maybe that's something that's undermined in even the flat earth community, because I think there's a lot of lies and deceptions even happening in the flat earth community. I think you would be quite open to acknowledge the fact that that's happening. There are a lot of people that are infiltrating the community and trying to portray themselves as being flat earthers and so on. So I don't subscribe to this idea of by me taking the label as a flat earther, now I am a trustable person. I don't subscribe to that ideology. I subscribe to the ideology of people who prove themselves to be intellectually honest, and then I believe them. If they can prove to me that they're being intellectually honest, then whether they believe in globe Earth, flat Earth, I'll at least believe their own, soul. I'll believe them on a soul level, and then we can debate the factual elements from there on. And that's it. And then that's where we should start. We shouldn't start from the material point of view.
Of course, yes. Absolutely. Yeah, I would agree that's something we could guard against. And I do think it's something that could happen where if someone is a flat earther, then they think, they trust the flat earthers, they don't trust the globers. That's not a good way to be. Yeah, there's different kinds of people on both of those sides. I mean, there's definitely some, like, for example, Scott Veach, a very nice gentleman, perfectly fine glober. I would go and have a coffee with Scott Beach before I would with some people who I won't name, that are flat earthers. So, I mean, there's no reason, it's not like getting the flat earther tag means, oh, this person is like the greatest person on earth, can do no wrong. No, so I don't think you should, I agree with you on that. And if you don't want to have a label, I don't think anyone's going to force you to have one. So that's perfectly fine.
Hey, Becky, I have a question.
Yeah, what is it?
Is there a difference between all and every?
I don't know, mate. Why do you ask that?
Bro, how drunk are you, man? Like, can you take it easy?
Just let him speak.
Swear to God.
Oh, sorry. What did you say? Not from Becky. I want to hear another man mouth.
No, this is what I'm like. This is what I'm sick of. Is like, I'm literally questioning, like, why are we listening to this guy? And it's this clearly abbreviated drunk ass or messed up guy.
Okay,
and then
that's
the
enough.
only
That's
response
enough.
that's being made
That's
is
enough.
like,
You're not in charge, Skygazer. That's what we've been trying to get across to you. You're not in charge. You don't have to be in charge. Why not just relax and enjoy the ride? See what you can learn. You don't have to get stressed out about everything.
To some
Let's forget
mess
about
over
that,
me.
guys.
That just seems like nonsense.
Someone who came in the room and asked me a question, and you're offended that they asked me a question, and now you're accusing him of being a drug addict.
No, if it's happening repeatedly in a pattern system,
Mate,
then
we've been in this room for
then
how
you're
long
allowed
now?
to,
Hang on a
raise
minute.
questions about
Hang
it.
on a minute. You're not on a private call. You're in a public channel. Someone came in and asked a question. Now you've interrupted that. That could have been over a minute ago now, and we
No,
could have
this
moved
guy's
on.
been
But now
present during this
you're
conversation. He's
complaining.
been
Do you know what happens to
continuously
people
asking
like you,
questions
Skygazer?
throughout
People
our
like
whole
you that continue to
conversation.
do
And
this
that's
and
real
try and
life.
control the room. You will get banned
that's
in the
real
end.
life.
I'm telling you. I'm warning you. If you
Can I-
keep carrying on like that, you'll end up getting banned from the server, mate. It's not your job to control this voice channel.
Can I ask him a question?
He's muted right now, thanks to whoever did that. I mean,
Thank you.
oh, so we
Thank
have
you.
to mute you every time someone else wants to speak.
Skygazer, do you believe in win-win situations?
Now you're unmuted. He asked you a question. Do you believe in win-win situation? And he asked that in a very clear and direct and wonderful way.
Yeah, I already answered this in a very clear and direct way, and I said, yeah.
Oh, I didn't hear you. I had you muted because that's the only way to get anyone else to get a word in edgewise.
Thank you. Now we can move on, right? I mean, who's the...
No, Becky's right though. I mean, that's the whole. I invited you down here.
What question? What did
okay.
I ask her? Do I have to look up live stream too? How do I find that?
I don't know.
I just want to know the question.
I muted you earlier just so I could hear somebody, so definitely.
It'll never be good enough, so I just said what I said before. Let's move on. Let's do something new. I had this idea of like they got these lasers pointing at these lakes, but I'm like, yo, the globe could be so big that these lakes might be flat. It's just fucking plankton shit. It's like mad scientist. Like I feel like a fucking freak.
Oh, I did
when I'm
some calculations yesterday of where I live and the photographs that we've got here, and I worked out through the elevation, the distance, the amount of the drop or the amount that should be hidden. Right, was 100 meters. You could see the whole city clearly, the whole way across the plain. There was nothing hidden at all, and we were looking for 100 meters hidden. And it wasn't there.
Oh my god, that's beautiful. I had this. I was outside yesterday, and I looked at the moon, and I was like, "Holy shit! Why is the moon in the east? Like the moon was in the east, but the sun was like south. Or sorry, the moon was in the west, but the sun was in the southeast. It was like 50 degrees."
You think that this world could be so big the scientists can get it wrong? Or the scientists are wrong? That claim it to be a certain size?
Yes.
So you think the Earth might be possibly bigger than what mainstream science says that the Earth is?
Yes.
Do you think that is like general information or knowledge or basic understanding when trying to interpret information that they give us?
I think it's interpretations from China, sir.
All right. So is that an interpretation you claim?
Yes.
All right, all right. Well,
Who
a
are you
lot of,
talking? Who is me? Yes, I do. From me to you.
I see you in Discord with me and you.
Oh, really? Because I'm gonna be homeless in a month. So go fuck yourself.
Oh, that's not
Hey,
good.
I've been there, man. Don't worry. You'll make it through.
What am I gonna be, a shill like you?
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah, come on. Not. How do I say his name? Notarambi.
That's what I say. He's never complained.
Notarambi.
Yes. That's how you say it. It was just because this girl I had a crush on had an ex-boyfriend who named himself Harambe when November 5th of 2015 happened and Harambe died. And I was like, oh, well, I'll just be not Harambe, and I think it's righteous, and I want to keep it.
That one was from Facebook or something?
Maybe it wasn't November, but it was 15th something.
Well, Skygazer took off when he realised he wasn't going to have the floor anymore.
Yeah.
All he did when I came in was insult me.
Yeah, it was not cool.
Yeah, sorry that happened, Harambe.
Yeah, I have a serious question. Do people want this confidential?
I don't know what you're asking. We are on the Dr. Science live stream. What I don't know what you mean.
Oh, like if I'm going on speakers or headphones or earbuds, like I want you to say earbuds.
So you know what, not Harambe? You know what I noticed earlier when you asked Skygazer the question? You asked like a really clear. You said it in a really clear voice. It was like you were doing this, what you're doing right now, and then you like ask it in a really clear voice. And I just wondered if like, is this like, are you putting this on, or you just had like a wild moment of clarity, or what happened there? Because sometimes people pretend to be like less aware than they are. I used to do that a lot when I was a teenager, especially as a female. You learn like, oh, if men think you're too smart, like either they won't want to talk to you, or they'll get intimidated by your
how many
less aware than you really are, because you can get away with a lot of stuff there.
How many days back do you want?
I don't want any days back. No,
Okay,
I want just, like a couple hours back of what you've been doing. Yeah, is that what we're talking about?
I didn't take my meds today or yesterday. and drinking beer and smoking cigarettes.
Okay, so I think you should, why not try to sharpen your mind? Why not try to put on your best face? You ever try to do that?
Yes, I'll do that right now.
Cool.
I'll see you guys around.
Oh
Later.
no, I didn't mean to leave. You had to leave.
No, I'm smoking a cigarette now. I'm not supposed to be smoking in the house. I'm gonna go outside.
Oh, that's why.
Alrighty.
All right, see you later.
Toodles. Oh, that was sad.
They always leave in pairs as well.
No, he was inebriated, I could tell, but he mostly is when he comes on here. But he did ask a fine question. He didn't do anything wrong. He didn't need to get attacked by that dude, Skygazer.
No, I think that was a game. I think Skygazer and him were playing
You think
together.
that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
he
think the
attacked him
Nodrami
for
is that
no
smart.
reason at all.
I think he
You know?
attacked him because he took his platform and he got the shits because he could tell he was drunk and he wanted to hold the conversation, so he got angry that this drunk dude came in. That's what I think personally. I don't think that Nodrami is even capable of coordinating some kind of situation.
Yeah, no, I'm just noticing just recently.
Maybe.
There's a lot of people who come. I mean, they've probably been doing it before, but just recently there's a lot of, oh, stop attacking me. You people are always doing it. And it comes from nowhere as if it's part of their script.
Oh, I tell you who's
Do you know
good
what
at
I
that
mean?
is Sofa Grim does that all the time. All the time. He comes in and complains about, power, we're power tripping and we're attacking him and we don't, understand who he is, and we should respect him more. And it's just his arrogance and his attitude is very hard to deal with.
I think the play at the minute is because the Flat Earth, it's getting more and more momentum, and the arguments are getting better and better, and the Globers have obviously got nothing. So the only thing they've got at the minute is to destroy us, and I think the personal attack thing is what they're aiming for at the minute. Now I think there's the algorithm that they've been working on for type text stuff and all of that, that's gone through, don't you? They can tell what you're typing. Well, I now think that has progressed one more to the voice, right? So all they have to say is they just have to say it, and it gets logged that some people are saying on this channel that people are always attacking me and flat earthers are always attacking, and it just gets logged and logged and logged and logged
in the algorithms.
Yeah,
and we know that anyway because we know when we upload a video to YouTube, there's a computer AI that's listening to that, and if it picks up on any songs, it gives us a copyright strike. So we know that they've got the programs and the software to do all this.
Yeah,
and have you noticed? I've noticed predictive type on my phone, particularly. It's getting weird. The kind of stuff. I mean, a lot of flat Earth stuff comes into my predictive type. Does that happen to you guys? The suggestions.
I know the one. Yep.
Yeah. I can't think of any examples. Right. I think electromagnetic. Maybe. There was another really weird one. It was not Tesla, but some other proper name. Different stuff like that. I was like, oh my gosh. And it's in my messaging area, not where I'm normally not in Discord. So it's they're taking stuff I'm talking about in Discord and putting into predictive text in other programs. It's kind of scary. Yeah. So all that's being recorded.
That just gave me a thought. Then I could see another program they could write for the smartphones in the future where the smartphone actually helps you respond to a question on your SMS. So if someone gave you a question, what's the radius of the Earth, the smartphone text responder could answer for you, and then so you wouldn't actually look dumb. You know what I mean? I could see something like that coming in the future too, and then that's them controlling your answers. So you're just getting them to tell you what the answer is to respond, and then that's just what you're believing because it's what they're telling you it is. Bit like predictive auto whatever it's that
the bots are getting
word
way
thing.
better for text. I think that's a lot why you don't see a lot of people because there are bots that they just put all over the place that text stuff. You know, they don't reply with proper words or any, you know, like
yeah.
proper sentences. They don't even formulate things properly. It's weird.
Well, we've seen the Google bots that they have on YouTube in the live streams. They've come into live streams before and struck down the conversations, and it was on a live stream. So the guy that was doing the show is like, "What is going on here?" And he showed it on his screen, and it was Google moderator, not even him or one of his moderators. It was a Google moderator, and it was coming in, and certain words we were typing, it was striking that comment out. Deleting it. And so we were deliberately typing these words, and it let us type them maybe 1 or 2 times. But the third time that we typed them in a comment, the Google moderator AI came in and struck our comments out. It was incredible. I couldn't believe it. And that went down in like live real time, and we watched it happen. And we watched Marfugel, the guy, show us on his screen. He goes, look at this. And we could see Google moderator.
Yeah, I got to, next time one of these weird predictive texts come up, I got to take a screenshot of it because I need to start keeping track of them. They're so odd. Yeah, and then Jay Doherty's saying, I can type a search on one computer and go to another computer, and the first letter will bring up the other search. Yeah. It's weird.
Yeah, that happens to me all the time.
I guess that's when you're logged into maybe like a Chrome browser or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so you know if they're doing that supposedly for our convenience, and you can.
Oh, it's off the chart. Off the charts. I was Googling stuff the other day. I can't even remember what it was. It was very when I was Googling the salt pipes, the salt inhalers, right? When I went onto my Facebook, I only use it for Messenger. I noticed all the advertising was salt pipes. Like straight up. And then another topic I was researching the other day, bang. And I mean, it is so blatantly obvious in our faces. And if people can't accept that that's not all they're doing, they're not just, recommending products for us to buy with our search results. They're doing a lot more with our search results.
Yeah, there's a few people that have done the thing where they type about one thing and talk about another, right? And in this like a thing, and they've found that the stuff that they talk about eventually makes it into the thing, onto the phones. So that it's listening as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Any of these smart devices with microphones, I believe that they would be listening and recording.
Yeah.
And going back to that collective database that they're collecting that data. And I mean, they don't even need to do census on our opinions or surveys, because they can just go to our files and collate the data for our area, our age, whatever, and see what we're talking about and how we feel.
How many times you said Trump and how many times you said Brexit,
exactly.
all of that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Absolutely. So they know how to push things, how to work things. They know what problematic, issues are coming up and how they need to work them. I mean, they're always one step ahead of us. They're stalking us, digitally stalking us.
Yeah, I don't think, like the missus said the other day, like, oh, you can't be too careful nowadays. And it's like, I don't think it matters. I don't think there's any way you can keep away from it. You would have to literally go off grid in order to get away from it.
Yeah. So I mean, what we need to figure out, like you said, I mean, they're definitely coming down on the flat Earth, and it's probably just going to get worse. So I guess we have to try to figure out how to head off some of these techniques that they're using.
Yeah, well, that's why I jump on them. If you ever hear anybody say that somebody called them a name or somebody's attacking them, and you haven't seen anybody attacking them, I think it's about time you just stood up and said, hey, no, nobody said anything like that. Where'd you get that from?
Yeah, because that happened earlier with Panto, didn't it? With that Z guy. Yeah, the new Z guy who's just so destructive. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. We had to, I really try, what, Becky?
When I just got up and I was having my coffee and I came in to say good morning to everyone in the chat, and then he just started carrying on like I had no tolerance. I'm like, is this the way my day is starting? And then I just gave him 30 minutes straight away just to like wake up and not have to deal with that person. So you guys, obviously have met him and know a bit about him or his style.
See, what I see this place as, right, the flat Earth is the flat Earth, but this is the number one spot that I don't know anybody that's sort of half curious about it. This probably would be the first place that they come to, or the easiest access would be the YouTube for 24/7 Discord, wouldn't it? Because it's always on. So whenever anybody from the outside looks in on it on the YouTube and they listen, that's all they're doing. They're just listening. Now, if 95% of the time you've got some muppet who's rambling something and then going, hey, no, stop, listen to me, I'm talking. Oh, why did you keep doing that? Oh, shush, Dad, see, you never let me talk. If that's all you hear when you switch that channel on, you think, what the hell are these people like?
Yeah.
And I think that's why they do it.
The good thing is you guys have got the mute facility. So if you're dealing with these sort of people and they're just trying to, make our conversation crap, just mute them. Mute them straight away, because they're not even – I'd rather the airtime be silent and give opportunity for someone to pop in and say, hi, is there anyone in the room, and ask a question and have those downtimes than these people taking up the airtime, complaining and whinging and bitching. And you're right, that's the first point of call on the YouTube. And if people come into our YouTube live stream and there is an interesting conversation, they're going to see, hey, I want to get in on this, and they're going to come in and start talking to us. If we can keep the conversations moving and try and stop all this ridiculousness.
Yeah, there's no need to argue, is there?
And I wonder, and then those people that get muted, and they're always the people who feel, like you said, like there can't be a second of silence, not even 2 seconds. I have to jump right in with my opinion and go on for 15, 20 minutes. I mean, those are the people who then, when they eventually get muted after doing that for 5 hours, then they'll spend another half hour whining about it. It's like, gosh, guys, I mean, come on, take a hint. And so so you wonder, are these people just like completely clueless socially, or are they really just trying to disrupt? Because like Skygazer, I was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. Like, are you really sincere? Because here's how you talk to human beings, not how you're doing it. But he doesn't take a single hint. He doesn't even take not even a hint, a direct "you're a jerk." He won't even take. So I don't know, how to get through to people like that. I mean, then you have to